Welcome to today's virtual council meeting. Before we start the formal business of the meeting, I must remind you that this meeting will be live broadcast on the council's YouTube channel and that the video of the meeting will be published afterwards. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. Now we have opening prayer, so I'd like to welcome everybody here, and it's lovely to see you all. And my chaplain, Sally Bayliss, will say prayers, please. Thank you, Sally.
Thank you. So let's just pause a moment as we offer this meeting up to God, to some greater wisdom than any of us individually possess. And we pray that, in mind of this, we continue to conduct all our business with courtesy and a willingness to listen as well as to speak, and to be mindful of the public whom we all serve. So we commit this meeting to our Lord and Saviour. In Jesus' name, Amen.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Sally. I just want to say, I'm sure we all wish to remember all the loved ones who've been lost in Edinburgh again due to COVID. It's been really terrible. And I also want to thank all our lovely staff who've worked so hard over the COVID pandemic again in all the areas here in Edinburgh, and the vaccination departments, that they've done a wonderful, terrific job. And I thank all the volunteers. So can I say thank you so much to everyone. Item 2 is apologies for absence. Councillor Wilkinson, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have apologies for lateness from Councillor Hemingway, who should be joining us very shortly, and apologies from Councillor Roxanne Ellis.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Councillor Wilkinson. Councillor Sam Smith, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. All present and correct.
Thank you very much. Okay, Caroline, would you mind confirming who is present for the benefit of the people listening at home, please?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I can confirm that the following councillors are present here at the meeting today. Councillor Adams, Councillor Peter Barnes, Madam Mayor, Councillor Barnfather, Councillor Bosworth, Councillor Boyle, Councillor Brooks, Councillor Clark, Councillor Clooney, Councillor Collis, Councillor Creamer, Councillor Elliott, Councillor David Ellis, Councillor Rachel Ellis, Councillor Elwood, Councillor Feeney, Councillor Fox, Councillor Gibbons, Councillor Greensmith, Councillor Gregory, Councillor Hollingsworth, Councillor Hope, Councillor Keneally, Councillor Lawrence, Councillor Ron McCrossan, Councillor Viv McCrossan, Councillor Miller, Councillor Murray, Councillor Nayuk, Councillor Paling, Councillor Parr, Councillor Payne, Councillor Scroggy, Councillor Martin Smith, Councillor Sam Smith, Councillor Towsey Hinton, Councillor Truscott, Councillor Wheeler and Councillor Wilkinson. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Caroline. Finally, I'd just like to say I'd be very grateful if members could use the raise your hand button or put a message on the meeting chat if you'd like to speak on any agenda item. If members are unable to do this, you will still be given an opportunity to speak. As this meeting is the budget meeting, regulations require all voting to be formally recorded as named votes. So I will therefore be asking Caroline to invite each and every one of you to confirm how you are voting. Okay. Item 3 is declaration of interest. Are there any declaration of interest, please? Councillor Creamer.
Yeah, item 4. As a county councillor, I'm on the highway side, but it's non-pecuniary, madam.
Yes, thank you very much, Councillor. Councillor Barnfather.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Similarly, item 4 is a wholly owned company of the Nottinghamshire County Council. As a Nottinghamshire County Councillor, I declare an interest non-pecuniary.
Thanks, Councillor Barnfather. Councillor Nicky Brooks.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Same for me, please.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Boyd-Elliott. Councillor Elliott, Boyd-Elliott.
Sorry, I was on mute.
Right.
I was the first one this evening. Hey, I felt proud to that. So likewise, County Council. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Okay, Councillor Michael Payne, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As the County Council, I'd like to declare a non-pecuniary interest. I am also a member of and chair of the Fire Authority, so likewise a non-pecuniary interest there, and I'm sure the leader of the council would like to also flag his non-pecuniary interest as a county councillor and member of Nottinghamshire Fire and Rescue Authority.
Yes, thank you, Councillor. I've got Councillor John Clark. Councillor? Yeah.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Yes, similar to Michael's, because I also a member of the Fire Authority. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Clark. Item 4 is to waiver of a contract standing orders resurfacing work to Bestwood Lodge Drive, and your recommendation is on page 5. We have a proposer, Councillor Peter Barnes, please.
Thank you, Alan. Can I just move this from the chair, which I'm very, very pleased because it's part of our ward, or perhaps next door to our ward, so we're looking forward to this being developed and made what it should be. I'm pleased with the County Council and the Fire Brigade for their support, and I look forward to it being completed. So I move it from the chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Can we have a seconder, Councillor Wheeler, please?
Second, and reserve the right to speak. Thank you.
Thank you. Have we got anybody to speak on this? Councillor John Clark, please.
Yeah, thanks, Madam Mayor. I think for anybody listening or I think we're being observed tonight that this is a good example of working together. That's the County Council and ourselves and the Fire Authority. And at the end of the day, that awful road will be repaired, renewed, and will be in a lot better state than it was before. So we're not always falling out. We're this is very constructive, and I'm pleased that we've all been able to come together. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Clark. Anyone else wishing to speak? Really? Councillor Rachel Ellis, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just briefly, I'd like to thank all the members of staff, the work that they've done in liaising with the Fire Authority and Notts County Council, and the contributions from them, much appreciated. And I also welcome the fact that the work is programmed to take place in April and May, so very soon. As this is a road which is an important road in Bestwood St Albans, this is something which local residents have been keeping an eye on. So I'm very pleased to see this. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much, Councillor Ellis. Councillor Michael Payne, please.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. As the County Councillor in whose division this falls, I just want to echo the comments made by the Leader of the Council and by Councillor Rachel Ellis. This road services not only the entrance to the main car park for Bestwood Country Park, which is a very popular destination park, jointly looked after by the County Council and Gedling Borough, but it also services, as rightly identified in the report, the Fire and Rescue headquarters, as is at the moment. Bestwood Lodge Hotel, which obviously was well used in better times. Hopefully better times are soon to come again, but also the residents who live in Bestwood Lodge stables at the top of that road there, and anybody who has driven up and down that road regularly, certainly myself and Councillor Clark, and I remember having conversations with Councillor Barnfather, knows that that road is in a bad state of disrepair. It obviously falls into a position where it's unadopted at points, owned by Gedling Borough at points, and I think the approach taken here, which is a collaborative approach by the Borough Council, the County Council and the Fire Service to get the issue resolved and get the road into a good state of repair, is showing local government at its best, really, and people coming together to get the issue resolved. So I think colleagues are to be commended for the collaborative approach that's been set out, and I'm sure that particularly the residents at Bestwood Lodge stables and the users of Bestwood Country Park will welcome this investment. I know that it also impacts significantly on many of Councillor Barnfather's residents who also enjoy and use this park, as do my own residents in Arnold North. So I very much welcome what's being set out here, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Payne. Councillor Barnfather, please.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Just to concur with what's already been articulated in the meeting, particularly Councillor Payne's comments. This is obviously good work. It's good to see the all authorities, Fire Authority, County Council, and Gedley Borough Council being able to work together to achieve this result for residents generally. And I suppose a little bit of a plea with my County Council hat on for covering the other end of this road, which is an extension of Park Road in Bestwood Village, which goes up towards the Alexandra Lodge, which is in an equally poor state of repairs. And Councillor Ellis and Councillor Gibbons will be well aware, because we attend Bestwood Village Parish Council, that this is a road which causes equal concern. So hopefully we may be able to build on the success of Bestwood Lodge Drive and perhaps look to see if we can have some sort of similar collaboration for the extension to Park Road up into the park. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Barnfather. Anyone else wishing to speak on this? No?
No.
So, Councillor Barnes, would you like to just close on the item, please?
Can I just thank everybody for the support, and which I'm sure it will go down very well at Council. We're all pleased that this is going to happen. It's wanted to be done for quite a long time, so I think everybody's very positive that the outcome of this report. So I'll move it from the chair. Thank you very much for supporting it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, can we take a vote on this, Caroline, please?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, councillors, when your name is called, please state for, against or abstain, and a reminder to take yourselves off mute at the time that you speak. So we have Councillor Adams.
For.
Councillor Peter Barnes.
For.
Madam Mayor.
For.
Councillor Barnfather.
For.
Councillor Bosworth.
For.
Councillor Boyle.
For.
Councillor Brooks.
For.
Councillor Clark.
For.
Councillor Clooney.
For.
Councillor Collis.
For.
Councillor Creamer.
For.
Councillor Elliott.
For.
Councillor David Ellis.
For.
Councillor Rachel Ellis.
For.
Councillor Elwood.
For.
Councillor Feeney.
For.
Councillor Fox.
For.
Councillor Gibbons.
For.
Councillor Greensmith.
For.
Councillor Gregory.
For.
Councillor Hollingsworth.
For.
Councillor Hope.
For.
Councillor Keneally.
For.
Councillor Lawrence.
I was late into the meeting. Am I still allowed to vote? Can you hear me?
Sorry, yes, Councillor Lawrence, did you arrive at the start of the meeting or at the end of the debate?
Oh, I was 10 minutes late.
If you haven't participated in the debate, I would advise you not to vote.
Okay, I'll be recorded as. How will I be recorded? Because I'm not obviously not against it.
Absolutely.
You'll just be recorded as not voting, Councillor.
But I would have voted if I hadn't had the problems with the teams. It looks as if I'm abstaining, doesn't it?
Yes.
We'll make a note of it in the minutes to clarify that, Councillor Lawrence.
Thanks a lot. Sorry about that.
Thank you. Councillor Ron McCrossan.
For.
Councillor Viv McCrossan.
For.
Councillor Miller.
For.
Councillor Murray.
For.
Councillor Nayuk.
For.
Councillor Paling.
For.
Councillor Parr.
For.
Councillor Payne.
For.
Councillor Scroggy.
For.
Councillor Martin Smith.
For.
Councillor Sam Smith.
For.
Councillor Towsey Hinton.
For.
Councillor Truscott.
For.
Councillor Wheeler.
For.
Councillor Wilkinson.
For.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. That's carried.
Thank you very much, Caroline. Right, now we're on to the budget debate, which is item 5, and that's to consider and, if approved, adopt the recommendations of Cabinet dated 11th of February 2021 and set the council tax for the year ending 31st of March 2022. We will move to the budget, and items 5A to 5E will be taken as one. The recommendations for approval were distributed to councillors early in the week, so I'm assuming you've all got them, haven't you? Councillor Clark, would you like to move the budget, please?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Are we all sitting comfortable? Because there's about 30 pages of budget speech here, but it's in big type because my eyes are looking at a year of looking at these screens. So it's not too onerous. Sandra, the mayor, has kindly provided me with a sandwich, so if we feel a little bit like for those older people here, when Ken Dodd used to come out onto the stage and he'd have his sandwiches and keep audiences waiting. So anyway, without any further ado, I'll move on to the budget for this year. That's 21-22. Madam Mayor, last year has been one of the likes of which many of us have never experienced before. Coronavirus has changed us all. The pressure on families has been immense. The impact of our local businesses has been profound, and the loss of life has been heartbreaking. I want to begin tonight by sending my deepest sympathies and condolence to more than 300 families who have lost a loved one to COVID here in our borough. You are all in our hearts, thoughts and prayers. And I think a reflection to see how fast, and it's still here, is for those who saw that we did light up the candles, the heart-shaped candles in the foyer only a couple of weeks ago, and we're well over 300 people now. It was then stood at 280 candles were lit, and it's rising, unfortunately. So if we just give it a minute, think about that, and think of those people, because all sorts of people, not only I did mention on a thing today for the press that, and we're standing against a shop, and I said, looking through that glass, if you look through that glass, and a lot of people have had to look through glass, unable to go to their loved ones in their final moments, and that starts to bring it home. And so I really, really hope that our thoughts and prayers, not only of this council, whether you're religious or not, there will be some kind thoughts there will go out, and the thoughts to those people who are grieving tonight. Madam Mayor, by staying apart, we have come together like never before. So many people in our community have been doing extraordinary things to look out for each other. Brighter days do lie ahead, but the impacts of this virus are still being felt keenly by families and businesses in our borough. Together we will get through this, but we can't simply go back to business as usual. We must look to a future where we do more to protect our precious planet, and where we put care and compassion at the heart of our public services. And again, I think that's a paragraph there that calls for, thanks to all the people that have been helping, and another mayor mentioned it at the start of the meeting, but there's so many people out there doing so many good things. And I heard Boyd Elliott earlier before we started. He was arranging with Pat Bosworth there to who's doing the shopping at Morrison's tomorrow for several people. And I think that's the sort of kind act that many of us are doing. I know that Gary and Karen down in Carlton and many other people that are on the different groups are out there trying to help. So, there's a lot of compassion at the heart of our public services. To every local family feeling the financial pressure of COVID, I want you to know that Gedling Borough is here for you. And I think we've proved that, Madam Mayor, with the fact that we set up the hub to start with. We've moved on. We've now got the vaccination centre, which it was one of the first 6 in the country to set up, and that has done so well, and the people working there have done us proud. To every local business struggling with the devastating impact of this awful virus, I want you to know that Gedling Borough Council is here to support you. And it's certainly something working, and I have to stop every now and then and heap praise on different people. The Treasury Department, the Finance Department here has done absolutely exceptionally well, because it's all well. And I do thank, for the government for handing out the money, but it's at this end The real business begins of trying to sort it out, because we cannot keep everyone happy. There's no doubt in that. And it is a very difficult job. There's so many types of grants. And I think it was yesterday in the budget, there was another 18,000 for businesses, 18,000 each, which has got to be sorted out. And they must have incredible brains to go through it and to deliver, which has kept a lot of our, there's no doubt in that, with furlough, with the grants to businesses, it's kept loads and loads of businesses and people afloat in this borough. And to each and every one of our residents, shielding and isolated, I want you to know you are not alone. Gedling Borough Council is here if you need our help. And we are, you know, there's 41 councillors. There's so many people that work here. You know, there's some way that there's very seldom can we not help people. There is some way there that we can. So please get in touch with local councillors and get in touch with our council. Madam Mayor, the role of our out of the vaccine is offering us all a glimmer of hope in such difficult times. So let me put on record my thanks to our genius scientists for their remarkable work to discover the vaccine so swiftly. They are the very best of Britain. And the work, I know some people are still very nervous about doing this, but I do believe that from was it SARS, Ebola, and all the sort of things like that, there was a lot of work had already taken place. And thankful for technology, their diligence, and the many hours that they've worked have delivered this, and it will save, no doubt, in thousands of lives. Let me also say thank you to our NHS, to the nurses, to the doctors, to the volunteers, and yes, Madam Mayor, to the council workers who are rolling the vaccine out with such impressive efficiency. And a special mention there is for our waste crews. Our waste crews at Gedling Borough Council always receive, you know, whenever we do a survey, anything like that, they get a really good top marks. Well, this time they've been absolutely excellent because they've been out every single day. And it must have been frustrating sometimes to see lots of people at home and they're out there, but they have managed that service, have managed it well, and have got out there. And I do believe that, you know, most of the borough are more than satisfied with that. And I couldn't be prouder of our council's role in getting Gedling vaccinated. Our very own Richard Herod Centre. And if Richard was here today, I think he'd be very pleased that his name is still associated with a centre there that's doing so much, you know, so much for people. It's one of the region's flagship vaccination centres. Our staff have helped run the Richard Herod Centre, the vaccination centre, and those of our staff who have volunteered, and there have been many volunteers to vaccinate our residents, and their heroes and deserve our eternal gratitude. To all our staff who have continued to maintain the top quality services in the face of the worst challenge in our country has faced, certainly since War II, and for going the extra mile at every turn in the last year, I want to say a heartfelt thank you. Your commitment, compassion and care really has helped save lives, and that comes from not just me as the leader of this council, for every single member of this council from all political persuasions. We are really thankful. Madam Mayor, tonight I'm proud to be introducing a refreshed Gedling plan for 2020-23. How these years seem to whistle upon us, but there we go. That's it. We've got the plan, and that's one thing we all need. We are now entering year 2 of the plan, which brings to life our vision and ambitions for the future. Our values set out what we stand for and the way we do business. And the Gedling plan highlights our key priorities and actions over the next 2 years, all of which support our ethos and our driving mission, serving people, improving lives. And that is a really good tag that I think Newark pinched it as well, but we certainly were there first with the serving people, improving lives, and that does cover all the things we're trying to do. Even in the face of a global pandemic, with all the challenges we've faced locally, by working with our local communities and our partners, we are still delivering on this vision. The plan sets out an ambitious programme of activities to improve the quality of life for all of our residents. And we are confident that we can continue to make the borough a place we are all proud of, where people choose to live, do business and spend their time, and where there are opportunities for all. Our ambition is nothing short of creating a borough that is the best place to grow up in and the best place to grow old in. Madam Mayor, if I can now turn my attention to the budget. I am going to start with some details about budget funding. This year's budget continues to be set against a backdrop of continued unprecedented cuts from central government to our grant funding and declining income levels. Not only that, but we have rising inflation and rising demand, placing Gedling and many other public services under incredible pressure. Let me set out a little more detail of this. The COVID-19 funding support package has received national press about how generous it is. Well, let me tell you the real position. Despite the promises by the Secretary of State for whatever it takes to position for Gedling, is that we are forecasted to spend over 450,000 in 2021/22 of our much needed reserves to manage the COVID-19 financial pressures. The final settlement figures were announced by government on the 4th of February, and they provide actual figures for 21/22 only. Last year, the reason for a one-year settlement was Brexit. This year, it is COVID-19. What will be the excuse for a one-year settlement next year? And I must say that, Madam Mayor, it's very difficult, and you know yourself if there are, I mentioned Gedling plan and other plans, but if you've not got a medium-term financial plan, it is difficult. And I do recognise the job of the Chancellor being difficult as well, because things are, winging in from all sorts of places, but it's not making our life easy at this end. As colleagues around the virtual chamber will know, we met with Luke Hall MP to try and improve our financial position, and all four has signed a letter encouraging ministers to look again at how Gedling is being treated. Unfortunately, despite warm words, photo opportunities and political posturing, this Conservative government ignored our pleas for more grant funding and left our position unchanged. Not one penny extra. And it was frustrating because I think those who took part in that meeting will back me up on this. It was a good meeting. We explained it well. We pointed this out, and we didn't get anything. And this is on a day where I hear that £25 million has landed at Newark and Sherwood, and I think some money's landed at Mansfield and places like that. We seem to have been missed out there. The opposition will no doubt say that our core spending power has increased by 1.4% for 21/22, which is correct. But what they will not tell you is that the average increase for the wider local government sector in England is 3.1, and here in Gedling we are being left well behind. To add insult to injury, most of the 1.4% increase is predicted on us increasing council tax levels to the maximum. That is to say, Madam Mayor, pushing a national funding problem onto the hard-working residents of Gedling Borough. In reality, the government's own figures of cumulative core spending power show that Gedling has reduced by 20.2% when compared. That is a big figure, 20.2% when compared to 2015-2016, making us the worst affected council in England for the second year running. And just in case somebody misses this on the broadcast, we are the worst affected council in England for the second year running. Regrettably, we are left with no choice but to raise council tax levels by £5 per year for a Band D property. That will be in 2021/22. So 1 year on from my last budget speech, and what has changed at national level? Nothing. Once again, the uncertainties around future funding dominates the budget. As a council, we have no idea what the next comprehensive spending review will bring. There is still the uncertainty around changes to business rates and whether it will move to a 75% or 100% retention scheme. The distribution of business rates between district and county is still unclear. And of course, we are now in the third year of waiting for the outcome of the fair funding review, which has now been deferred again until the summer this year. So with these continued delays, does anybody actually believe these changes will happen? Going back to the settlement for Gedling, the figures reflect a real terms cash reduction in central government funding during the 6-year period since 2015 of £1.9 million or 38%. That's £1.9 million or 38%. And over the last 11 years since 2010, the equivalent figure is a staggering 5.8 million or a 65% reduction. These can all be tested, they're all accredited, these figures. This is what is actually happening. Madam Mayor, central government cuts have forced us to try and maintain crucial services for our residents and businesses at the same time as taking 65p in every pound out of our hands. The changes made to the new homes bonus scheme back in 2016 have had a significant detrimental impact on Gedlin's budgets, meaning that the council has effectively lost a further 2.3 million of grant for our budgets, from our budgets, sorry. I'm sure we would all agree that the local authorities have been disproportionately hit by the cuts, but such is the magnitude of funding reductions that maintaining business as usual has been a mammoth task to achieve, and yet this administration has achieved it, and that's no easy job to do. We have achieved it. Madam Mayor, may I now turn my attention to Gedlin's response to the cuts in funding? As I stand here today, or rather sit as we are doing these on Teams, yes, like all other councils, we have been forced to make a significant number of budget reductions, but unlike other councils, we have not stopped providing any services, and the quality of performance of those services has remained at high levels. For example, our planning and benefit services continue to be amongst the best in the country. Our parks and street cleaning teams continue to receive national recognition, and our response to the COVID-19 pandemic, involving the creation of the Humanitarian Centre at Richard Herod Centre site and the Giving for Gedling crowdfunding campaign, gained national acclaim. We couldn't do any of this without our excellent staff, and there are not as many as there used to be, but they continue to serve us, and the people of Gedling extremely well, and we are very proud of them and their commitment to this council. So let me now bring us up to date. Full council has approved 4 separate efficiency programmes totaling £6.5 million. Progress has been positive, with 4.8 million already being delivered, a further 0.5 million that should be achieved in the current financial year. A further efficiency programme of 0.6 million has been set out as part of this budget report. The underlying message is that each year the savings target is becoming ever increasingly difficult to find, and we're now at that position that 60% of the overall budget is spent on employee costs. It has therefore been deemed prudent to set an additional efficiency target of 0.6 million in the medium-term financial plan to be identified over the coming year. And yet, despite all these reductions in central government funding, this administration has once again proven its worth. It's delivered a medium-term financial plan that has balanced budget for the next 5 years up to 2026, and this is some achievement by us. And particularly, I have to remember every time when we took over 10 years ago that we were told we couldn't balance a budget, and we'd be skinned. Well, we're not. We're actually still achieving the balanced budget, and I'm very proud, very thankful for officers, very thankful for my group and the effort they put into it. Madam Mayor, I remember former opposition councillors, which have just gone through claiming our Labour administration would max out the council's credit card. I've forgotten that one. Yes, they did say that. Well, now our Labour administration fixed the roof while the sun was shining. I think I've heard that one before from somewhere, giving us a degree of protection for the unexpected rainy days we've experienced over the last year. Prudent with our residents' pennies, looking after the taxpayers' pounds. Ambitious for our community's future, but only spending what we can afford. And I said it right on the outset when we first set out the first budget, we'll only spend what we can afford, and that's what we've done. So let's now turn to our unprecedented period as a Labour administration. Since 2011, we have frozen Gedlin's share of the council tax in 4 separate years. We have protected working age households by agreeing to a 100% funded council tax reduction scheme. And I am proud to say that this will continue in 21-22. 4,800 families protected from poverty and shielded from being landed with an additional council tax bill by this Labour administration. We have led the way locally and in some instances regionally and nationally on a wide range of community initiatives, whether that is accommodating Syrian refugees, which I just mentioned. I don't know if people saw the recent TV and the recent press coverage of two of our mother and son who have gained access to university, and I can remember them coming here on a very pleasant night when we're just introducing ourselves. Two of those who reside in Carlton have now worked really hard and are absolute credit not only to their own country but to this country. So I was really pleased, and if people haven't seen that, I'm sure that if you go on the catch up on TV, you'll see the smiling faces of the two refugees that are now playing a very, very major role in this country. Supporting lonely and isolated local residents, or putting on an ever diverse range of community events. But we don't need to look backward, as our record speaks for itself. We have delivered on every local promise we have ever made to our residents, and we always will. And that needs repeating. It needs reminding people when we say something, we do it. 2 years ago, we swept to victory again for our third term of office, and it was based on a new set of manifesto pledges to our residents and to the businesses. Promises made, and those promises were kept. We have worked with the police commissioner, the police and crime commissioner, to create a new neighbourhood policing team, and I've provided funding for a number of crime reduction initiatives within the borough, including CCTV cameras. And we won't stop there. This administration will continue to invest in CCTV to help keep our streets safe. And I know Sam's been putting a request in we're looking at Burton Joyce, and there'll be other places. And it's a lot easier to do that. I know they cost some money, but it's a lot easier to do than when we first started off. And I can remember being in the committee room here, where we were looking, can we stretch a cable across the top? How do we get to the other side of the ridge? And we got 2 or 3 cameras in different places who were very, very grainy. So we've really improved that, and we are looking to invest into other areas. And it's another tool in our police force's toolkit. I have particularly met remarks about the policing because the Operation Reacher and others which deal with, from robberies to drug crime to everything else, the resulting people that have been taken into custody and those that have ended up in courts has been absolutely excellent. And Chris Pearson, as a local inspector, certainly on our side and Carlton there, has kept everybody informed, and there's the excellent work we had after we had those spate of stabbings some 18 months, 2 years ago. The next few days will see us start work on site at Carlton Square, with completion due in the summer. And next month it will see us start work on an iconic building, a modern public realm in the Arnold Marketplace, which will be completed by March 2022. And you'll see those movements now because all the stalls are away from there. The contractors are coming in, the boarding's going up, and we're starting to see that move ahead. The Carlton Square is particularly interesting because that again is partnership, and I think that's the way forward, and I think that's the way the Chancellor will be looking at partnership with other people to make something happen. And that will happen because the company who own the majority of Carlton Square, they're going to refurb part of it, and we're going to deal with the sort of outside the car parks, reshape it and revamp that. And that's well, they've just put the banners up now, so I presume we'll be moving ahead with that. In terms of building more affordable homes, plans are progressing for the Burton Road and Station Road sites, with works expected to start this year. This is on top of our pledge to retain 2 hours free car parking. And before I move on to that, I'll just say something about the Burton Road and Station Road. Difficult sites. The Burton Road one is a particularly difficult site because it's at different levels. So there's been a lot of work going on how we can build that, what we can put on there. But one thing it will alleviate, at the moment we are paying out something like probably heading towards $500,000, I think it'll be, with bed and breakfast and putting people in hostels and this type of thing. This will be purpose-built places that we can help alleviate some of the homelessness. For whatever reason, some people become homeless. Sometimes it's their own fault, but in lots of cases it's modern life that leads them to be there. So I should be pleased to see the bricks go down and see the roofs go on and get some people into there. This is on top of our pledge to retain 2 hours free parking and 1 free bulky waste collection every year for all households in our borough. We're also investing in health and well-being of our residents. In November last year, we introduced a new Gedling Forces leisure card, and we will continue to invest in our leisure services to maintain our customer base at our leisure centres and the Bonington Theatre and Cinema. We have made further investment in our play areas, with Breckhill being open last week, Onshon Park and Killissick play areas to open in the coming weeks. Also, the new play area at Conway, which every time I go down there, it's full of people, full of children, people getting out there and getting exercise. It's an absolute first-class record on building play areas, and that's with help from all sorts of different places. A lot of money coming from recycling, etc. And then we have our successful flagship, the Gedling Country Park, a new car park, a brand new cafe seating area, and 2 new viewing platforms, all delivered as a result of investment by this Labour administration. A new car park, we thought would do it. I mean, I don't know, you know, anybody that's been up there in the lockdown. It seems constant, whether you go early, whether you go late. It's very, very popular and very much liked. There are some people who tend to use social media who do not like it because for other reasons. But in general, most people thoroughly enjoy that. And I do believe it's added to the quality of lots of people's lives. That would have not happened if it had not been for this Labour administration. In terms of housing, everyone knows that getting new homes off the ground is a massive challenge, but Gedling has led the way in this. In Nottinghamshire, with its local plan gaining approval in the summer of 2018, and now working collaboratively with the Greater Nottinghamshire Planning Partnership, we've started to look at future options for growth. Despite COVID, the delivery of new housing has progressed at a pace. Across the borough, Keep Moat have delivered 232 new homes at Chase Farm, with a further 125 at Teal Close by Persimmon. Homes have now been built, Persimmon Homes have now built 180 houses. Also, it's worth noting that Davison Homes have started building at Mapley Plains, and we're confident that other major sites will also start to deliver much needed homes this year. Work on the Gedling Access Road is now well advanced and is due to be open to traffic in autumn. This significant infrastructure is funded by part up to 4.5 mil of the SIL money, and it's also, again, it's a partnership. The Keep Motor, I remember, I think put 17 million into that. I know we strong-armed 5 million out of the county council, and D2N2, as I sat on the actual meeting there, we got 10 million towards a new road. And that seems to be progressing with COVID, with the weather, with everything else, seems to be on time for completing. This year, we will continue delivering to our residents and for our residents. There are very difficult times ahead, but this Labour administration will always rise to the challenge. We want Gedling to be known as a council that is both commercial, enough to recognise the need to change, but also to be compassionate. Compassionate in a way we operate services so that we know the price of things, but equally as we recognise the value of things to our community too. This is very important to this administration, and you can see this through the variety of projects that we are both working on now and in the future. During the coming year, we will create, and this is going to be very exciting now, we will create a green lung for Gedling. Our residents will be able to enjoy a beautiful extension to the Gedling Country Park as we create a walking route, a safe walking route between the Gedling Country Park and Digby Park. And for those who don't know where Digby Park is, it wraps around the golf course area. So in effect, we're protecting that now for future generations. In the face of a coronavirus pandemic, we have all learned to love our beautiful outdoors a little bit more. This administration will protect our parks, our green spaces, and invest in them to create beautiful outdoor spaces for all to enjoy. And I think if you look, I can't look out the window now because it's dark, but in this civic park here, the amount of people that are using this park, they're looking after it, and it's for all the people that come in here. We don't seem to be having where we used to have it was full of McDonald wrappers and things like that with people, and people picnicking, leaving things. People have really grown to respect outside, outdoor life, and we will continue to encourage that through the way we look after our parks. Tonight, I'm pleased to announce that from 1st of April this year, we'll also extend our free bulky waste collection offer to allow all residents of pensionable age to book a free collection throughout the whole year. This is on top of maintaining our free bulky waste collection for all the households in the borough in the early months of the year. Today we have sited a memorial stone in Eagle Square to pay respects to 307 people in the borough have lost their lives to COVID-19, and to honour our NHS carers, key workers, and also, as I mentioned, our people who collect the waste and do all the things like that. It was interesting, kept it very low key, because it really, there was only Michael and myself who attended for the council. The stone is there, it is engraved, you can go and see it, it is illuminated. I hope people appreciate what we're trying to do, because it came of a thought that a lot of people now, a lot of people in our borough and across the country, who, particularly if they've lost a spouse, or they've lost a person, they've lost a partner, whoever that they've lost through this terrible virus, they can actually go there, they can reflect on it, and if they do wish to put some flowers down there, then by all means do it. But today it was interesting listening to people's reaction to the stone. Very, very positive. Liked it. Thank the council for placing that there, and also highlighting what's been going off. And if you think there's over 1,000 nurses and doctors and healthcare workers have died fighting this awful virus, along with all the other people, we have so much to be thankful for if we're well. But this is to help people to start that grieving process, to recognise. And some people said, well, why are you doing it? Well, in the Second World War, there were over 70, I think it was about 74,000 civilian casualties. And going right back to the First World War and other wars, awful things to deal with. But these monuments were erected in honour and remembering those people that we should never forget. And this is similar to it, bearing in mind the figures I've just said, which was 74,000, and now we're on 120 something thousand and rising, because I made it quite clear today, it has not gone away. On top of that, we will also be planting a circle of native oak trees at Gedling Country Park as a quiet memorial place for the residents who visit and reflect, and if they've had a bereavement in their family. I was asked today whether I'd had a bereavement. I hadn't, but I know many friends who have had bereavements and close family members that have passed with this awful virus. That in the country park, I think, will be it's the right place. It's got if anybody's got any further suggestions to it, basically a circle of native oak trees with paths and that type of thing, so people can actually sit there. There will be somewhere to sit, so that you can reflect on those past days, and don't always remember the bad days. Remember that there were many. All those people have some great stories, and should be remembered. Madam Mayor, we also deliver a number of carbon reduction initiatives throughout this year, including implementing our bee pollinator action plan. And this is where I think we do need to step up our act now. You see it everywhere, climate change, everything's melting, and rainforests being chopped down, and yet we see planning's been given for a deep mine at the moment. So anyway, we'll do our bit in Gedling. So with the bee pollinating, which went through the council, I think, was it last time or the time before, will help bring the focus and drive to our efforts to reduce the council's carbon footprint and to tackle the climate emergency. We will be employing a new carbon reduction officer, and we've got a lead member in that for carbon reduction and for climate change is Michael, the deputy leader. We promise to improve our public toilet provision in the borough. I'm pleased we will be pressing ahead with the development of a new public toilet and a change in places facility on the King George V recreation ground near Arnold Market, which you all agreed to, I think it was about a couple of weeks ago. Extremely pleased to see this. One of my daughters who works with young people and is a she's a specialist nurse, dealers with incontinence and things like that, and they're always pushing for changing places facility, but not just for the young, for the old. So this will be similar to the one we've got on the country park, whereby you've got the lift and all the other facilities there that would help. We're not stopping at that. We're going to look at other areas to see if we can increase not only the public toilets but these changing places as well. And we'll be really pleased to see that opening as soon as it's built. We're also investing in refurbishing. This will be of interest to people in Arnold, in particular. So refurbishing the pavilion on King George V recreation ground after it was attacked. It was attacked, and I believe it was tried to be set on fire last year by vandals. This will provide a much improved facility for the local cricket and football teams that rely on its use, and give opportunities for further use by the council and community to improve the health and well-being of our local residents. Madam Mayor, we also just know just how devastating, and it is devastating, you've seen it with, I've just mentioned about climate change, how devastating the impact of flooding can be and has been on some of our residents. We won't stand by and pass the buck on this crucial issue. We're working with the County Council, Severn Trent Water and the Environment Agency to improve the flood defences and mitigation measures at the worst affected flooding hotspots in our borough. That's why this administration is budgeting 50,000 for flood alleviation initiatives that can be targeted at high-risk areas. And we would, of course, welcome input from local councils on these issues. And I know that Mike Adams is now working on with the scrutiny committee on flooding issues, and he'll be heavily involved with that. Madam Mayor, this budget doesn't stop there. It also includes investment in enterprise units, and the enterprise units now at Calverton. So the investment in Hazelford Way, industrial units in Newstead Village, and 160,000 investment in Lamley Lane changing rooms and a pitch renovation, which will be, it's really well needed. Everybody try to play on there, you'll break your neck. It really does, it really needs this, and again, the changing things will be changed. Further investment to improve Bonington Theatre and Cinema. There you'll be able to, hopefully, eventually, when we get through all the health and safety things about how to fit a new lift, the lift will be renewed there, which will be a lot better. There's different schemes, ticketing, etc., and things like that, which will further improve the facilities on offer from the theatre and cinema. Again, at the moment it's a sad loss because it's there in darkness. So hopefully soon, and I think it's been announced in the pathway back to some sort of normality, that cinemas will be open in the near future, and the theatre itself. Construction of a sand martin bank and 2 bird hides at the Gedling Country Park. So this is much needed, it's been asked for, and that's to provide a sustainable nesting habitat for sand martins. Funding to provide a secure unit to store equipment at the Carlton Cemetery, which is essential, as somebody did take leave of our digger there, so that needs to be done. And a creation of a tree management officer role. As we're planting more and more trees, we have to make sure that they're well managed, and so that's going to be an important position coming up as we're down for 500 trees. I think we've done those already, but more and more trees are getting planted, so we need to get some more administration on that. Madam Mayor, this Labour administration's budget, it focuses on the issues that matter most to our residents and businesses. It is a budget full of ambition for the future. Once again, this administration has met our budget efficiency targets. We remain defiant in the face of any new financial challenge the government may set for us. We are equal to challenge because we have plans to invest in a new digital technology that will release efficiencies. We will further review our spending and income levels. I could just see some of our councillors saying no more iPads or looking at these things. We will further review our spending and income levels, so that we have to make sure that every pound is spent properly. We will improve the usage of our assets and facilities and seek new partners to share with. And we will procure goods and services better. And we will continue to adopt a more commercial approach to our services. Delicate situation balance a number of key factors. The need to make the savings required, the need to treat people fairly, the need to continue to provide the services that our residents require. This will not be easy, but as we have shown in previous years, we can do this together and we can do things correctly. Madam Mayor, I commend the Gedling plan, I commend the budget to the council, and I do look forward to constructive debate. What I will say just at the end of it, I am very thankful for the help. And we have done this, and it's been, from our opposition as well, it's been constructive criticism on many times, but we've tried to find that central area where we can all work together and improve the quality of the people's lives in Gedling. Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you so much, Councillor Clark, for a very detailed report. Councillor Payne, would you like to second, please?
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. I formally second the recommendations and reserve the right to speak. Just before I do, I want to also put on record my thanks to the officers who have supported us in bringing together a budget in very, very difficult times, and just associate myself with the comments of the Leader of the Council in paying our respects and deepest sympathies and condolences to the 307 families who have lost a loved one in the last year to this absolutely awful virus. Thank you very much, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Payne. I'm going to ask if anybody would like to speak, but I can see Councillor Michael Adams. Your hand is up.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, I have an amendment which should be appearing on your screen imminently.
We've got an amendment, right? Okay. Have we got a seconder for the amendment?
Yeah, I just need to wait until it appears, and then it's not going to appear. I'll start talking about it straight away. Here we go.
Yeah.
Magic of technology is happening, a little bit delayed, but we're getting there. Yeah, as you can see, the amendment on screen makes changes to the budget. Thank you. I just want to thank Councillor Clark for his words, and may I also pass on my condolences to the many women and men that have been affected by COVID-19, and thank you from our group for their fantastic work from our council, emergency services, NHS, and of course anyone that has paid tax in the past. Without your hard work, the unbridled support for our public systems will have not been possible. So I thank you all. Yeah, so just on the actual motion itself, you can see it there. As I said, it's changed the capital programme. In the first instance, you can see there's to reduce the Arnold flood alleviation budget, which is currently at 50,000 to 25,000, and utilise that to build secure storage units, which will contain flood alleviation packs at sites at the boroughs to serve areas at risk of flooding. And then on number 3, acquisition and installation of 2 fixed and 1 deployable CCTV camera to deter antisocial behaviour in identified risk areas, to be financed by borrowing subject to surveillance impact assessments. And into the general fund revenue section, number 4, revenue implications of the borrowing required for the acquisition and the installation of CCTV cameras, 8,200, and reduce the members' pot from 2,000 per member per annum to 1,800 per member per annum, in all, creating a total of 8,200, which will enable us to maintain, to pay off the actual debt itself. So sorry, I just missed a figure off there. The acquisition of installation of the CCTVs is at 72,000, and that's how the figures below then pay for it. I just want to thank the new Director of Corporate Resources and Section 151 of Alison Ball for helping putting our amendment together, and subsequently the victims of flooding and ASB in our areas first. So I just want to start with ASB. It's growing during lockdown, and in fact, along with violent crime, are the 2 highest committed crimes across Nottinghamshire. And my local park in Burton Joyce is plagued by after-hours vandalism. It has to change, and in fact is currently a local friends group, of which are donating £1,900, to whom we have donated £1,900 from our own pot, as they're in the process of trying to redo the park. As a result, it's tired well before its time. And it would be great to not have to report all that work and money has been done for nothing. It needs monitored CCTV. And although I do welcome wholeheartedly the leader's warm words about CCTV, there isn't anything in the budget for new installations, and hence why I would like a commitment from the Labour group today. This installation will give those afflicted by antisocial behaviour an opportunity to feel safer in their environments. The CCTV cameras also, which we would like, another one which we'd like to go into the Ravenshead precinct. As I said, one in Burton Joyce Park, and also a third one which I'll come to shortly. But we really need to get ourselves in the long arm of the law on these vandals and trouble causers. So let's move quickly on to flooding and the alleviation packs. Colic and Netherfield in 2016, Burton Joyce and Stoke Bardolph in 2019, 2020 and 2021. And also, of course, Lamley and Woodborough, 2 of the most regularly hit with high waters when it rains. So why flood alleviation packs? 2 reasons. If our villages get cut off, these resources cannot be driven in by Gedling officers. These are available on site to help people's properties. It's a sad thing to report, but people who have been flooded before fear that if they leave their houses for a holiday or something else, every time it rains, they panic and they suffer from something called, it's actually flood anxiety. So having these packs available where people can purchase items as well, when even it's not in an emergency time, will also help alleviate some of that. One of the biggest issues we have is when there is a flood emergency, the water starts to come down to people's pathways, and only then can they access free sandbags. Only then are they able to call Gedling and get them delivered. So having them within the actual area would mean they could actually literally walk to the area and bring them home themselves if necessary. So alleviation packs contain sandbags, aqua sacks, sand, empty sandbags, polythene sheeting, wheelbarrows, and PPE in a sense of high-vis, wellies, waterproof gloves, torches, etc., and shovels, and also trolleys to carry these sandbags around. So that's the flood alleviation. And finally, the final CCTV camera, which I alluded to earlier, is for fly tipping. We have a place in Stoke Bardolph called Cat Lane, which is basically like an elbow of a road in the middle of nowhere with no visible view from a main street that gets fly tipped regularly. And amongst other sites, we would like to create a mobile CCTV camera that was enabled to work in these areas. And effectively, like we said, once the issue has been resolved for an extended period of time, maybe we could look to relocate that camera somewhere else also. I mean, it's beyond me how these people can do these things to such beautiful areas. I mean, having completed many litter picks across Gedling Borough myself, I can confirm the love and appreciation from our residents and the many visitors that have utilised, as the leader mentioned, our parks during lockdown. And it's sad to see them damaged and sad to see them looking so bad. The amount of beer cans and, you know, all sorts of things you come across while you're out there. A sink actually the other day, so somebody did actually throw the kitchen sink at it as well. You know, we've seen record numbers visiting the parks and we want to keep them nice. And I think one of the key things we can do with these CCTV cameras is enable that possibility. We've tried everything else. It's not like we're here and this is the first step. We've tried the dog eyes sign, looking at them. We've tried sending the warners around, but still these places get ruined. So you may be thinking, why is our members Potts included in this? Well, you know, this is all of us. We are councillors for the whole of Gedling Borough, not just our own wards. I've answered the call on a number of occasions when other areas have needed funds for different projects. And I think we've shown incredible togetherness, as Councillor Clark also alluded to during the pandemic with the initiatives that we've worked together on. And I think we now need to put some of that into our rural village greenbelt areas and help these afflicted residents of Gedling Borough by backing this tonight. So please vote for this amendment. It is an emergency for these people. There's a lot of problems that we have. Like I say, flooding is a massive issue, and you'll enable our local villages and towns that are affected by flooding an opportunity to protect themselves, and those left to feel scared by ASB sleep better in their beds. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Adams. Can I ask for a seconder, please, on the amendment?
Where is he? There is one.
Yeah. Right.
Yes. Sorry, Madam Mayor.
For Sam.
You mean my understanding was it was Councillor Smith, Sam Smith. But if it isn't,
You,
I'm happy to
Councillor
second.
Murray. Yeah, go for it, Councillor Murray.
Councillor Murray?
I'm happy to second.
Thank you very much. I notice, Councillor Wilkinson, you've got your hand up. Is this on the amendment, please?
It is, Madam Mayor, thank you. It's to request a short amendment, 5 to 10 minutes, to allow the group to
adjournment, not an amendment.
Adjournment, sorry, apologies. Yeah, short adjournment.
You can amend your amendment if you want.
Thank you, Councillor Elliott. Yeah, short adjournment to allow the group.
So you're asking for an adjournment, yeah? Okay. So can we have a seconder for the adjournment, please? Adjournment.
I'll second it.
Yeah. Who's that? Who's seconded?
Boyd Elliott.
Oh, Boyd Elliott. Councillor Boyd Elliott. Thank you. So we're all agreed on that then.
How long do you want? 10 minutes?
Yeah.
10 minutes would be plenty, yeah.
Then. The recording will pause, I think, during this time. Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Right. Would you like to speak on the amendment, please? There we go. Oh, Councillor Boyd Elliott, please.
Come on.
Yeah?
Right. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm first, am I?
Yeah.
Okay. Firstly, I'd like to thank the leader. I'd like to personally thank John. I think that was it was an amazing, I think, a great speech, and especially at this time. He's obviously he was present at the county budget last week, which went on for considerably longer, a good 9 hours. And within that, I'd like to thank Chris Pearson for the police going forward, and all the work that's gone on in Arnold. I think the work that's gone on in Arnold has been amazing. My residents of Calverton, thankfully, they praised me for the work on Arnold, but I pass that thanks on to you. So I don't want to give you too much praise. I just think I want to talk about the temporary accommodation. Temporary accommodation. Labour have mentioned the reduction in the government funding while spending the best part of £220,000 in the 1920 budget with bed and breakfast, temporary accommodation. Money that could have been spent on delivery priorities of Gedling residents.
Can I just stop you? Is this on the amendment?
Well, it's on the budget.
No, we're on. I've just said, is anyone who would like to speak on the amendment?
Okay. Well, do you want me to repeat it? Okay. Right, let's go back.
We can come back to you.
Come back to me then.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Now, anybody wanting to speak on the amendment, please? No. Oh, it's got his hand.
Madam Mayor, Councillor David.
No, there's a few hands up.
Councillor David Ellis.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I am speaking on the amendment, which I'm opposing, and I'm very disappointed in this amendment. A couple of weeks after the last council meeting, where a question was asked about antisocial behaviour, Councillor Sam Smith, arranged a meeting with the Conservative councillors, myself, and brought the officers along, including Chris Pearson. And we had what I thought was a very constructive hour and a half, 2 hours, where there was a free-flow discussion where local members were able to express their concerns as they perceive them from their areas, and we discussed our understanding and what the services are doing and what members thought, and we actually agreed a range of actions at that meeting, and that plan of action has started being put into place. Amongst other things, we arranged for the wardens to change their patrol to patrol more on in Ravenshead, and we arranged for the wardens to talk to the caretaker at the park and Burton Joyce. All of which was intended to move things forward and address the concerns that members and local residents have. I had a portfolio meeting this morning where I followed this up and discussed it with progress. And yes, the wardens have been round Ravenshead and they've talked to the young people, most of which are actually from Ravenshead, unlike some of the other parts of the borough, where we get people coming in from the city causing antisocial behaviour. We had most of the people from Ravenshead, who I'm told are very well spoken, very well behaved, and basically their line was, "Where do we go? What do you expect us to do?" And the problem there is primarily the lack of facilities and opportunities for young people in Ravenshead. And we know that there's been massive cuts in the youth service that's affected all areas, and certainly affected Ravenshead. And I know in Ravenshead there are lots of serving and retired police officers who have a slightly different take on life in Ravenshead to the way it's being presented. But as I say, we had a plan, and we're working on the plan to address the concerns. The particular issue of CCTV is very premature. We explained at the meeting that the Surveillance Commissioner has tightened up the restrictions on CCTV, and that we need to put a big, substantial business case to make the argument. And Councillor Adams said we're here to serve all the borough, not just our wards. He's quite right on that, which is why when we're looking at needs, antisocial behaviour, crime, the level of demand, that we address it across the area. But this is a very parochial amendment where the local Conservative members decided that they want their areas addressing, irrespective of where their need features compared to everybody else, and they're just trying to steamroller this meeting into giving them what they want. Also, if you notice on page 167 of the budget book, there is a substantial CCTV reserve, which is where, if we can substantiate the argument for needing CCTV, we can fund it. So it's both premature and superfluous. So I think it's completely worth voting down. Thank you.
Ellis. Thank you very much. Councillor Creamer, please.
Councillor Payne.
Councillor Payne, sorry.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I did indicate, but I think there's a problem with the system.
Sorry, yeah.
I don't think it's not always showing when people are signalling to speak. Can Alec Dudley just bring the amendment back on the screen, please, Madam Mayor?
I think he can. I don't know. Alec?
Yeah, just doing it. Just give me 1 second.
Okay, darling. It's not very good to see, isn't it?
Can you enlarge that, Alec, in any way? Oh, that's better. That's better.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I'm speaking in response to the amendment presented by the Conservative group, and I'd just like to raise a few points as the person responsible for the Council's finances, as the Cabinet member responsible for budget setting. I want to reiterate the point first and foremost in relation to CCTV. There are revenue implications, i.e. additional borrowing implications of this amendment by Councillor Adams, which I have grave concerns about. The budget is already under significant pressure as a result of us being the worst affected council in the country, thanks to a decade of Tory cuts. And you can see here, point 4 highlighted on the screen, that the additional investment in CCTV would have an implication for borrowing. Now, what you can see at point 5 is that Councillor Adams seeks to offset that by reducing the members' pot, which is the money that councillors have to support local food banks, local community groups that have been doing outstanding work to support people throughout this pandemic. Councillor Gibbons and Councillor Ellis have been using their money to support Community Kitchen. Some amazing people doing amazing work. And there's no need for this amendment, Madam Mayor, because if Councillor Adams had read the budget papers in detail, he would have turned to page 167 and he would have seen that there is a £195,181 reserve specifically for CCTV. Councillor David Ellis, the Cabinet member responsible for community safety, has already explained that he's met with Conservative councillors about issues in relation to CCTV. He's given them a commitment that he'll take the issues forward, and if there's evidence that suggests that CCTV is needed in any part of the borough, then a case will be put and a £195,000 reserve that's already been allocated will be used. So frankly, there's no need for the main part of this amendment by the Conservative group. It smacks instead, Madam Mayor, of electioneering, which is very disappointing when we're talking about use of taxpayers' money. Secondly, just on the issue in relation to flood alleviation, let me be crystal clear about this. The budget allocates £50,000 for flood alleviation in the budget. Councillor Adams rightly refers to the Arnold flood alleviation scheme. The leader was very, very clear in his opening speech that the flood alleviation £50,000 allocated in the budget is for hotspot areas across the borough, which, yes, does include Arnold, but also includes areas like Burton Joyce. And we are already considering, through working with Severn Trent Water, the Environment Agency and the County Council, the idea and concept of flooding resilience packs. I actually think it's a relatively sensible idea. The leader was already crystal clear in his budget speech at the start of tonight's meeting that he welcomes input from councillors. And rather than waiting until the budget meeting and grandstanding about these issues, why didn't Councillor Adams do what County Councillor Nicky Brooks did, which was raise these issues months and months ago with myself and the leader, raise these issues in the County Council, make the suggestions, which is in part why we see the £50,000 here allocated tonight. So there's no need to vote for this amendment. We can accommodate the requests that are being made by the Conservative group within the budget that is set out, as I've just explained. And for that reason, the Labour group tonight will be voting down the amendment and will be voting in favour of £50,000 invested in flood alleviation measures for all areas, including Burton Joyce and the Trent Valley. And if there are areas where Conservative councillors want to see CCTV installed, and there is evidence, as Councillor Boyd Elliott said, by Chris Pearson and his police team, that we need to install them, then we will use that reserve as highlighted on page 167. Let me just finish by saying this. Perhaps if we hadn't lost our 2 police stations in Arnold Carlton as a result of Tory cuts, we wouldn't be having these problems with community protection and antisocial behaviour around the borough. I think there's a bit more homework to do for Councillor Adams. He needs to take out a leaf out of Chris Barnfather's book, who was always very diligent and methodical before he came to budget meetings in doing his homework. This smacks of an electioneering amendment that hasn't had its homework done to it. I think you need to sit down and take some lessons from Councillor Barnfather, Councillor Adams.
Oh, thank you very much, Councillor Payne. Sorry, Councillor Creamer, would you like to speak? Councillor Creamer?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. It's just on the issue of being parochial. I think it's extremely dangerous to start targeting specific areas like for argument's sake, Carlton, or anywhere in the borough. In this area, Carlton Hill, this couple of weeks, last 2 weeks, crime has actually increased. Burglary, shed burglaries increased. There's been burglaries, and in the news today and yesterday, those animals that were in terrible condition that was found by our wardens in the report to Gedlin. That is in my patch. I'll not say where because I'm not sure how detailed it be, but I know exactly where it is. So when you're being parochial, you're taking things away from one area to put to another. Now, if Chris Pearson turns around and says, this is the issue this week, this is where we need to go, this is where we need to put our resources, I have no problem with that. I am not going to be parochial. If it's worse in Cavendish or worse in Calverton, well, that's where the resources go. This is purely parochial, and I think it's a shame that you've gone to such a level on this. This is a matter of trust, and I'm afraid the officers we've got, the police that we've got, and our councillors, I actually trust the cabinet members and the police and our wardens, etc. I am totally against this actual amendment because it does nothing for the whole borough, and as has already been said, it's just purely electioneering for one area, and I think that's wrong on so many levels. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Creamer. Is there anyone else wishing to speak on this amendment? No? Oh.
Yes, please, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Martin Smith, yes? Okay.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And before I speak on this amendment, I too would like to thank Councillor Clark for his very illuminating report, and also offer my condolences to all those who've lost loved ones during this pandemic. One item that I would like to comment on is the Gedling Country Park, which I visited for the very first time actually on Monday. I must say how impressed I and my wife were with all the facilities there. I do, however, have one criticism, but I'm not sure whether this is the fault of the Labour administration.
No, can I just stop you, Martin, because it's on the amendment.
Yes, and I'm coming to that.
Oh, right, okay.
I'm just thanking the leader of the council for his report. And I'm just going to finish off by saying how freezing cold it was, and I'm sure that's not the fault of the Labour administration. However, Madam Mayor, in the election of May 2019, councillors Murray, Barnfather and myself received nearly 70% of the votes cast in the Newstead Abbey ward. We do therefore believe that we have a very strong mandate to represent our residents. With that in mind, I do recognise that the budget amendment does ensure that the residents of rural wards are catered for, particularly in respect of the prevention of antisocial behaviour. And this has been touched on earlier. This was recognised at the recent excellent meeting chaired by Councillor David Ellis and attended by members of this group, as well as Gedling officers and Inspector Chris Pearson. And I do thank Councillor Ellis and the neighbourhood wardens for the extra patrols that have been stepped up recently since that meeting, particularly in Ravenshead. The urban areas, of course, do have their own unique needs too. But I am first and foremost a Gedling Borough Councillor who likes to think, as well as representing my own ward, I recognise the needs of all wards. On this occasion, however, I'd like to urge all councillors to set aside their own individual needs for the greater good of all residents, and in this case, for those in the rural communities. And I do hope that you can all support this amendment. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Martin Smith. Councillor Sam Smith, this is on the amendment.
Yeah, Andrew was before me. Yeah, sorry, Madam Mayor, it looks like the hands on your screen aren't the same as reality, so I think Councillor Elwood was next, then Smith, and then Clark.
Councillor Elwood, so hand up. No? Oh. Vote.
I think there might be a fault, Madam Mayor, with the hands on your screen.
I've got a hand up as well, Alec.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Councillor Elwood. Go to Councillor Elwood. Yeah.
Elwood first then. Okay, thank you. Councillor Elwood, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Apologies for the confusion. I'm in general in favour of CCTV, and when I first got elected onto this council in 2007, it was a major issue in the area that I represented, and I do acknowledge that it's if you've got it in your area, it's something that is a real issue. I'm kind of taking on trust what other members say. If they say there's a problem, then I'm kind of accepting that they're not making it up. So I do understand if there is issues in other parts of the borough. The actual amendment doesn't specify where the CCTV cameras are going to go. It's just saying we want more. So although the speeches have been made advocating that they go in certain areas, there's nothing specific in the amendment that says they should go in certain areas. So in general, I'm in favour of more CCTV, and I do know that the borough takes its responsibility very strongly with regard to data protection and making sure that that people's rights are protected. And it may sound a little bit odd as a Liberal being in favour of CCTV. I know there has been a sort of bit of a feeling maybe in Liberal circles that CCTV cameras aren't very Liberal, but in general I do support them. So yeah, I'm thinking that we will support the amendment, and the deployable CCTV unit. That is something that should be looked at, I think, because that's something that I'm aware we don't have at the moment. And the flooding issue is obviously a big issue in certain parts of the borough, and the secure storage units does seem to be a reasonable idea. So, in the spirit of cross-party working, we will cautiously support the amendment tonight. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Elwood. Councillor Sam Smith, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Since my election onto this council in May 2019 to represent the residents of Stoke Bardolph, Gedling and Burton Joyce, I've been involved in reporting fly tipping sites far too often on sites such as Cats Lane and Stoke Lane in Stoke Bardolph. Our wardens do a fantastic job at being on site so quickly and clearing it up. They also do an amazing job in the background in attempts to track down the criminals who are damaging our beautiful area. As well as increased warden checks, temporary measures have been taken with the installation of hidden and battery-powered cameras, and warning signs have been erected. But fly tipping continues, Madam Mayor, far too often. All these existing measures cost this council money, and it is on a frequent basis. We thank Councillor Ellis for our meeting a few weeks ago and for the follow-up actions him and his team are carrying out. What this Conservative amendment does is it proposes the installation of permanent cameras and a mobile one, which can monitor sites such as Cats Lane and Stoke Lane. Not only will these prevent fly tipping taking place, they will help our staff catch and find the criminals who are destroying our countryside, both of which will save this council money in the long run, I am sure, and this council should vote to make it happen. Also, every year as a councillor, I've been involved in responding to floods in the houses, gardens and roads of Burton, Joyce and Stoke Bardolph residents. We know that the rain is coming and the rivers are on the rise. Our council teams go out, they clear the drains and streets so that water can escape. But sometimes that just isn't enough and properties do get damaged, Madam Mayor. Currently, this council's policy is that residents can only access sandbags once the water has entered their property. Well, Madam Mayor, that is too late. If passed, this amendment will create flood resilient packs that will be stored in units across the borough for the whole borough to use. And they will incorporate places like Burton, Joyce and Stoke Bardolph, which are prone to flooding, Madam Mayor. And these will contain sandbags and tools and equipment, which will enable our residents to protect their properties from any damage. This is important because it will give our residents the tools before any of the water has entered their properties. I therefore urge this council to support our rural areas and vote for this amendment. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Sam Smith. Anyone else wishing to speak, or else I'll ask Councillor Adams to come back.
Sorry, Madam Mayor, there's a number of other councillors that have been obviously councillors. So
Councillor Simon Murray, please.
Councillor Clark was actually next, Madam Mayor.
I can't see that then. Right. Councillor Clark then.
Yeah, thanks, Madam Mayor. I'm not quite sure whether I get summing up duties at the end, but I do over the overall motion. Just really to say, Madam Mayor, I'm disappointed that Michael Adams, that is, and Sam and others have just not, got in touch with me. I mean, you should have asked me because it's already in the budget there, as we pointed out by the deputy leader. The money is there, and I'd hopefully we could have had that sort of meeting. I know David Ellis is working hard on it at the moment to try and deliver what they were asking, but so disappointment there. I certainly know quite a bit about the places, and obviously representing the old Carlton East for years down there, so I know Burton Joyce very well. Flooding in particular, I think I've got a degree in that now, because I've been so many times saturated down trying to dig stuff out of the channels and all the different gullies and things that run around Burton Joyce. On two occasions I can bring to the council. One was certainly where I think was it when the previous MP was elected, 1997.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a great one then, a great one, and John's remembering it now. I mean, I think it was everywhere, Arnold, a lot.
Yeah.
We got, but Burton Joyce in particular did suffer, as did Gedling Village, and Gedling Village suffered really unbelievable damage. People out of their homes for a year, 18 months. Now, a lot of those are caused because people, you know, they didn't store wood. There were wood burners were the flavour of the month at the time, and people stacked wood, and they also made these great, beautiful ornamental arches that the water trickled through. They made those out of a dustbin or something like that, threw concrete over it, and I got a lovely bridge. Well, what happened at the end of it? It flooded. So you know, the amount of experience with it is incredible. I remember on another occasion with Vernon many years ago, and we found, because this is, you know, it looks as if it's always flooding is down to the local authority, to our local authority, to Gedling. Well, it's not. You've got the Environment Agency, Severn Trent, and all sorts of people rolled into that with the county council, all those types of things that should be, you know, we should be looking at. But we found a valve down just near the crossings, just beyond the crossings, I think it was. It's going down to the recreation ground in Burton Joyce, absolutely broken. And we were saturated by then, covering muds, and the MP got his suit damaged and all that sort of thing. But that was subsequently dealt with. And again, on another occasion when Michael was with me, and I think Vernon again, and we went down there, we're helping pulling stuff out on Nottingham Road, where all those around there, the gullies had overflowed. And again, I've been present there when somebody nearly lost their life when they were trying to get some of the stuff out of there. You know, sheets of polythene and things like that tend to block it up. We also did a piece on the when James O'Riordan was on the council with me, and we had this right good battle over Shelford and all those things like that, because it would have made Burton Joyce into Skegness by Sea without a doubt. And that was resisted, and that was quite a battle at the county council at that time. So you know, flooding hotspots, it's in there, it's in that speech I've just done. There are lots of other people to include with it, but I'm really pleased, Sam, you're on board, because with fly tipping, you're doing your apprenticeship now, because when you get to Newark, mate, you're going to be absolutely inundated. Newark is a real hotspot for fly tipping, and also it'll be excellent. The experience you're gaining in Gedling now, when you're a county council, or if you're a county councillor in Newark, then you'll have the experience of dealing with flooding, because you know, the flooding out there is horrendous and needs lots of other agencies and the government to get involved. There were other cases. I heard Meredith say, well, Colwick was never flooded. At one point, if people remember, the barrier between Home Pierpont and Colwick collapsed, but it was further down. It was city side more, so it actually flooded that sort of area. It broke through, and thankfully they were knocking where the jury's inn is now. They were knocking that down, and they took all the waste and the concrete and everything else, and they managed to plug it temporarily. But I know it's many times we have problems there. Stoke Lane was another one where this council intervened along with other agencies at the crossing there. There was a problem there, a big problem, which would have we would have had to rehouse. I remember one Friday night with John Robertson, that we possibility of rehousing 800 people, because it would have been absolutely, the large foul sewage would have flooded Netherfield from end to end. So you know, we've done a lot there, and we will listen. The CCTV, Woollerton Avenue, Catherine Fox campaign there, along with us, for the CCTV camera that went up there. It was subsequently put there, and within a short space of time. Unfortunately, that was after a murder, but at least it did keep an eye on that area, which was quite volatile at that time, and still does a good job today. Smithy Crescent, Front Street, that's another one that's helped significantly. And recently, and if you get your report from Chris Pearson, they observe people trying to break into people's houses and trying to bully people, etc. on that one. Mapley Top, this has been, you know, as I said, I was talking about the one where we used to have a bit of string and a tin either end. That's all been renewed now in the latest technology that's gone on to there. Conway Road's just been, or just about to be done, for to guard that area of where we've just spent money, on other people's money as well, on the recreation ground. So please talk to us. You've got David, a portfolio holder, and I'm sure he'll deliver in these areas of need. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
So, Madam Mayor, Councillor Adams was indicating next, but seeing as Councillor Clark decided to use his comeback now, I think it's fair that we give Councillor Adams a chance to come back now or at the end.
Well, Councillor Murray wanted to speak.
Yeah, so it would be Councillor Wilkinson first, Madam Mayor, in
I
the
can't
order of...
see that. Right, Councillor Wilkinson, please.
Madam Mayor, I do think Councillor Murray was ahead of me, and then it was me.
I thought so. Okay, so Councillor Murray.
Very grateful, Madam Mayor. Thank you very much, and thank you, Councillor Wilson, for giving way. I was very struck by the support that Councillor David Ellis gave the Conservative group by agreeing to have the meeting on antisocial behaviour with the group over the last couple of weeks, and very useful things came out of that. It's one of the perhaps or less appreciated consequences of the pandemic, that there has across the borough, and indeed across much of the country, been an increase in what's reported as antisocial behaviour. And that comes from two sources. Firstly, it's because breaches of the COVID regulations are recorded on the police database as being antisocial behaviour because there's no other appropriate category. But secondly, because of the effect of the lockdown. And I would disagree with Councillor Ellis when he says that the gathering of young people in public spaces across the borough, not just in the Newstead Abbey ward, is as a result of the loss of youth facilities. It's because over much of the last year, for obvious reasons, those facilities have been unavailable, and consequently, young people have felt that they were able to meet up in public spaces. And this has a consequence of providing groups of young people which can be intimidating to older members of the community. And in Ravenshead, we have a fairly proportionally older population. Now, what we seek is a civilised response to prevent the causing of alarm that might be occasioned by groups. Now, it's all very well Councillor Ellis suggesting that when the neighbourhood warden spoke to some well-spoken youths in Ravenshead, that she thought that was all fine. But there have been instances when residents have felt concerned. And all of this, of course, is on top of the fact that gatherings of youths at the moment is unlawful by reason of the COVID regulations. What we seek by this amendment is, as Councillor Elwood entirely correctly pointed out, provision in the budget for some more CCTV, the precise location of which will be decided in accordance with the correct procedure. Councillor Ellis suggests that the regulation of the siting of CCTV cameras requires clearance from the Information Commissioner and the Surveillance Commissioner. He's right about that. But there will be no issue, I would suggest, in the locations that we have identified. But even if there were, we have allowed for that possibility by not being prescriptive in the way that we have framed the amendment. So we can get around Councillor David Ellis's first objection. His second objection, and that which was picked up with great alacrity by the Deputy Leader, Councillor Payne, was that there was already money in the budget, it is said, for CCTV programmes. And he pointed us to page 167 of the bundle, where there is identified an item, CCTV reserve. Now, I was surprised to see that the manner somewhat patronisingly adopted by the Deputy Leader was that Councillor Adams had not prepared thoroughly. The answer is that CCTV reference was, he was informed, a budget for the repairs of extant CCTV in the event that present equipment broke or required replacement for other reasons. So it was not available for new installations. So the point that is made against the amendment by Councillor Ellis and Councillor Payne, and touched on by the leader, Councillor Clark, is, in my view, a weak one. There is therefore no reason for any member of this council to vote against this amendment. Thank you very much.
Councillor Murray. Alec, I'm going to ask you, who's the next one?
Councillor Wilkinson is next, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Wilkinson, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I wanted to come back on something that the Councillor Elwood said when he talked about the amendment not being prescriptive in terms of where the CCTV cameras would be sited. Well, perhaps he was listening to a very different speech from Councillor Adams to the one that I was listening to, where Councillor Adams was very, very clear that that the intention would be to site those cameras, or the two fixed cameras in Ravenshead and in Burton Joyce. So whatever the amendment, he claims the amendment says in terms of its lack of prescriptiveness, the intention from Councillor Adams is very, very clear, and it's just naked electioneering from Councillor Adams. It's cynical, and we'll be opposing this amendment. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Wilkinson. Alec, is it Michael Boyle next?
Yeah, Councillor Boyle, yeah.
Councillor Boyle, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Again, I'm speaking on the amendment, and I would start by also paying tribute to all those working hard in this pandemic, and those at the Richard Herod Centre that have done such a marvellous job, and also offer my condolences to the 307 people who have lost their lives during this pandemic, which is the context of how we're debating this budget tonight. Last year, when we were sitting in budget and we were sitting physically in the council chamber, there was an amendment to knock I think the members' pot by £500 in order to pay for something that would seem to be not particularly well researched in terms of its proposal. And again, we have a similar thing today. There is provision, I would suggest, on page 167 for the provision of CCTV as a reserve fund. It doesn't say it has to be used for a particular area or a particular fixed or movable things. It doesn't seek to do that, which is the right place for it. So it seems to me that the amendment as proposed by the Conservative group is unnecessary in that respect. And then there's the uncertainty caused by the borrowing that is envisaged for the extra money, which is the interest of which is paid back by robbing the or reducing the members' pot. Again, which seems to be a strange way of doing things. And the other thing about the flood alleviation, there is a budget of 50,000, which is actually borough-wide where it's going to be needed, includes Arnold's, includes other places such as Burton Joyce, as the leader of the council very, very well put in all the things that were done. So what I'm going to do here is actually on the amendment is to ask the leader of the opposition group to reflect on the debate tonight and actually withdraw his amendment.
Thank you very much, Councillor Boyle. Can I just check with Alec, is there anyone else wanting to speak before I ask Councillor Adams to come back?
No, Madam Mayor, it's just Councillor Adams left.
Thank you very much. Councillor Adams, then, would you like to come back, please?
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor, and thank you to everybody's comments this evening. I'd like to reflect back on a few of them, if I may. To Councillor Boyle, who just finished off that I will not be withdrawing this amendment under any circumstances. I will stand up for the forgotten, as we are currently experiencing, and work hard for all rural communities and semi-rural and small towns like Colwick and Netherfield to ensure that they are getting the support in flooding that they so need. That will never, ever happen. To Councillor Clark, look, John, I'll be honest, I think you've spoken with class tonight, and I really appreciate that. I think the things you've said have been on point. I think you've answered the questions. An amendment for me is, we agree with a lot of what's in the budget, and again, a lot of what's been spoken so far has been in response to you and in a kind way, and I think that's how you've delivered it. So I thank you very much for that, and yes, I will be in touch. Thank you. And while I would agree with Councillor Payne's excitable comments about Chris Barnfather, of course, Chris was a fantastic leader of our group, and continues to be a fantastic member of our group and continues to be a fantastic councillor. I'm disappointed in his reply, and what's hilarious about what Michael Payne has said is that he says I've not done my research, which, you know, looking on the neonicotinoids debate at the last council meeting, I think we all know who did their research. And on this debate as well, again, I've done my research. I would not come into a debate like this without research. I would not stand in here in front of you without research, and I would not ask my group to back an amendment without research. And to say that I wouldn't do that, I'll be honest, is insulting even for you. So the research has been done, and as has been pointed out by Councillor Murray, the CCTV reserve budget is reserved. £25,000 a year goes into this budget, in case you want to check the details, and that's for maintaining the existing CCTV cameras that we've got. It's not new CCTV, it's existing, hence why in my budget amendment that information is in there. Secondly, I just want to refer to the police point as well. There was a bit about police stations have been closed. I think you were blaming Conservatives or something. So I would accept that in the same time you'd be praising the Conservatives for the 20,000 police that are on their way. But not just that. I was in a meeting very recently, a parish council meeting actually at Burton Joyce. You can check it, it's online. Chris Pearson clearly said, we are the best staffed we have ever been since I've been in post. So I think that puts that one to bed as well. Councillor Ellis, I thank you for your points, David. I do again think you missed the point. If it's not written down in the budget, it doesn't exist. We've played this game before. I did a motion a number of years ago about getting proper checks for councillors to ensure through police checks. We went through a whole process. It's never appeared, even though I was promised that we would have work on that come forward. It's never appeared. I'm afraid if it's not written down, it doesn't exist. Hence why I've written it down. And finally, as well, it's really important that I refer back to this CCTV point. We've got an increase in ASB level. We've got people that are concerned, people that are worried about their families, their kids. Burton Joyce Park, just as a small point, was vandalised a few weeks ago and glass was all over the park surface. Kids were in that park the next day. Parents weren't to know what had happened the night before. And those kids have been put at risk. And I don't think it should be a negative thing that there's councillors out here fighting to ensure those children are protected and safe by targeting specific locations for CCTV. Although, as the point has been made, we will have a mobile facility as well, which will be incredibly useful across the whole borough and proves, as I earlier said, my point about being a councillor for the whole of Gedling and not just my own ward. So, look, back to the amendment tonight. I've got a feeling you're not going to. It's a shame if you don't. It's done with a goodwill. It's good to try and improve the area, and I would appreciate you backing it tonight. Thank you very much, Madam Mayor, for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Councillor Adams. Well, Councillor Clark, you would have been allowed to close on the amendment, but you've already spoken, so I'm closing this item now, and we'll take a vote on the amendment. And votes at the budget meeting must be taken as a named vote. So I shall pass to Caroline for the vote, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councillors, when your name is called, please state for, against or abstain. And just a reminder to take yourselves off mute at this time and that you are now voting on whether to accept the amendment only at this stage. Thank you. Councillor Adams.
For.
Councillor Peter Barnes.
Against.
Madam Mayor.
Against.
Councillor Barnfather.
For.
Councillor Bosworth.
Against.
Councillor Boyle.
Against.
Councillor Brooks.
Against.
Councillor Clark.
Against.
Councillor Clooney.
Against.
Councillor Collis.
Against.
Councillor Creamer.
Against.
Councillor Elliott.
For.
Councillor David Ellis.
Against.
Councillor Rachel Ellis.
Against.
Councillor Elwood.
For.
Councillor Feeney.
Against.
Councillor Fox.
Against.
Councillor Gibbons.
Against.
Councillor Greensmith.
For.
Councillor Gregory.
Against.
Councillor Hemingway.
Against.
Councillor Hollingsworth.
Against.
Councillor Hope.
Against.
Councillor Keneally.
Against.
Councillor Lawrence.
Against.
Councillor Ron McCrossan.
Against.
Councillor Viv McCrossan.
Against.
Councillor Miller. Thank you. Councillor Miller.
Against.
Councillor Murray.
For.
Councillor Nayuk.
Against.
Councillor Paling.
Against.
Councillor Parr.
For.
Councillor Payne.
Against.
Councillor Scroggy.
Against.
Councillor Martin Smith.
For.
Councillor Sam Smith.
For.
Councillor Towsey Hinton.
For.
Councillor Truscott.
Against.
Councillor Wheeler.
Against.
And Councillor Wilkinson.
Against.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I declare the amendment is lost.
Thank you very much, Caroline. Now I'd like to ask, would anyone like to speak on the original budget by Councillor John Clark?
We've got Councillor Elwood, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much, Alex. Councillor Elwood, would you like to speak?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, I would like to propose the Liberal Democrat amendment to the budget, if I may.
Okay. Is somebody going to put it up?
Just coming now, Madam Mayor.
Right, okay. Yes. Yeah, we can see it, thank you.
Too big. Oh.
What's going on? Wow.
Right. I'll just leave it there for a second, people to read through.
So then I'll ask the councillor to move the.
Okay, should I?
Would you move in the amendment?
Yeah. Am I okay to speak now, Madam Mayor?
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you. The amendment's in two parts. The first part of our amendment concerns providing an emergency replacement budget for play area equipment. Clearly, there is currently a maintenance budget for play equipment in the budget, but this new budget is designed to supplement the existing maintenance budget, which we feel just doesn't cover larger pieces of play equipment which unexpectedly need replacing. We base this on our own experience in our own ward, where a piece of play equipment was out of action for over 14 months. At the time, we were told that the equipment concerned was no longer manufactured by the original firm. The options were to replace the equipment immediately with a new piece of equipment, or attempt to find another firm who could repair the existing piece of equipment. The former option was more costly than the latter option, but the drawback to the latter option was that it took a significant amount of time to arrange, and the equipment was out of action for over a year. We think it's wrong to penalise our children in this regard. So a young child growing up, 14 months is a long period of time. By having this additional budget, it will allow parks and street care staff to replace worn out or vandalised play equipment much more quickly. Clearly, it is a small budget and it could not be used to replace a whole play area when it reaches the end of its useful life. In such cases, it would be expected that for parks and street care to bid for funding in the usual way. We also believe that going forward, a larger repair budget for play equipment is going to be necessary as the number of play areas expands in the borough. In the short term, the maintenance costs of these new play areas, often funded externally via FCC Communities Foundation and Section 106 monies, will be low. But as these play areas become older, their maintenance costs will increase. By increasing the repair budget now, we should be able to keep on top of the maintenance of our existing play areas for the future. The second part of the amendment is referring to carbon reduction issues. In 2019, the Council voted to declare a climate emergency and pledged to become carbon neutral by 2030. We were therefore surprised to see that for the monies earmarked for carbon reduction in the capital programme for this year, the two items referred to in the papers are a bee pollinator programme and the establishment of a green lung in the Digby Park Arboretum area. With regard to the former, this is clearly a laudable aim, which the Council voted on in January. However, its primary purpose will be to increase pollinators, and its effect on carbon reduction will be at best marginal. With regard to the Digby Park Arboretum area, it is a beautiful part of the borough, and maybe we could promote its greater use by our residents. There are plans in hand from other funds to improve the footpath at the link between Arnold Lane and the back of the golf course. This is an area I know well, and I've been pressing for it to be improved in the Future SIL programme since last summer. However, I am at a loss to know how this site can be made more of a green lung than it is already, as the area is predominantly woodland. Instead of the bee pollinator programme and the green lung, we are therefore proposing to purchase a fully electric playing field mower and install the appropriate electric charging points at the depot. This vehicle is something that Parks and Street Care are looking to purchase at a later point in time. And so what we are proposing is to bring this purchase forward into the new financial year. By purchasing this equipment now, we will be making a definite start in the decarbonisation of the Council's vehicle fleet, which we will need to achieve within the next 10 years. It is appreciated that due to battery technology, at the moment, there are still problems in using electric vehicles in the borough due to our hilly terrain. We do, however, need to make a start, and in this case, the issue of this vehicle travelling to the playing fields under its own steam, so to speak, does not apply, as the vehicle will be transported to the playing fields on another vehicle. We are looking at a gradual incremental step in decarbonising the operations of the council, and this is one of them. As a measure, it will have a tangible, achievable, and just as importantly, measurable effect on reducing the council's carbon emissions. Let's make a start on the basics. before we move on to the more esoteric measures. Last year, the Lib Dem group proposed the creation of a carbon reduction officer as our budget amendment. And this year, we are pleased to see that this will be implemented in this year's budget. Let's go further in our carbon reduction ambition and start to go electric this year rather than wait till future years. Thank you, Madam Mayor. That's the end of my speech.
Thank you very much, Councillor Elwood, for moving your amendment. Can we have a seconder, please?
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Towsey Hinton, yes. Okay.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. For the reasons that my colleague has given, I would like to support this amendment. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Towsey Hinton. Is anybody asking for an adjournment on this? Alec?
We don't have any hands apart from Councillor Towsey Hinton.
Right. Does anybody wish to comment on this?
Councillor Payne.
Councillor Payne, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor, and thank you to Councillor Elwood for the amendment and the spirit in which it's been put. The Labour Group will not be supporting this amendment for the following reasons. I'm disappointed, Andrew, you know, as a Liberal and somebody who I think, and certainly in the way you speak, claims to be committed to tackling the biggest issue that this planet faces in terms of climate emergency, that essentially what we see here is an amendment that's tinkering around the edges. You know, we're talking about £85,000 here, and I think I caught you right, Andrew, referring to the Bee Pollinator Action Plan and the green lung development, which is, I think, absolutely critical, not only for people's health and well-being, but also to tackle carbon reduction as being esoteric, I think was very misguided, Andrew, of you. And I certainly don't think protecting our bees and pollinators and protecting our green spaces and our open spaces is esoteric. If it is, why are you campaigning so hard to protect the green space at Gedling School if it's esoteric? So I was very disappointed in those comments, Andrew. The other reason that the Labour Group will not be supporting this amendment is that points 1 and 2 of the amendment refer to reducing the members' pot to pay for an increase of £20,500 for an emergency play area equipment replacement maintenance budget. There is already around £1.1 million for replacement play area equipment and cemetery and grounds maintenance equipment, which is referred to in the budgets that are outlined on page 138 and 139 of the budget pack. And I don't think for one second, with the greatest respect, Councillor Elwood, that increasing a £1.1 million allocation that this Labour administration has made by £20,000 is going to make a great deal of difference. It was interesting listening to the debate, Andrew, because I think there was a bit of collective amnesia about what's happened in the last decade. What's happened is this Labour administration have kept every single play park in the borough that has been existing while we've been in administration open. Not only that, we've invested in them. 3 in recent months, Onshaw Park, Breckhill and Killissick are being invested in. You well know that we're also speaking to you and Councillor Towsey Hinton about how we can protect the recreation and open green space at Gedling Playing Field. What you failed to mention in your speech, Councillor Elwood, is that your party was part of the coalition with the Tories in 2010 that took a hammer blow to council budgets. This Labour administration has protected our play parks, and you're right, there'll be much more investment as a result of the £1.1 million allocated in this budget in relation to play parks as we move forward. So I really do think that the £20,000 is tinkering around the edges. And, you know, I noticed you were disparaging, Andrew, about the lack of progress, I think, around tackling the climate emergency. We've reduced carbon emissions by 50% in the council over in terms of use of fuel, etc., by staff. And I don't think that's anything to be sniffed at. That's making a big contribution to tackling the problems with carbon and the climate emergency. So I'm disappointed in the amendment. I think it's tinkering around the edges. Very disappointed that you refer to the plans for the Bee and Pollinator Action Plan and the Green Lung as esoteric. Interestingly, you also want us to install a new charging point for electric vehicles at the council yard. This Labour administration's installed tens of charging points around the borough, and many more will be installed. So, proud track record with this administration investing in climate change. I think this amendment is a tinkering amendment. I think you could have done better, Andrew, and for that reason we won't be supporting this amendment.
Thank you very much, Councillor Payne. Alec, could you tell me if anyone else is wishing to speak on the amendment, please?
Oh, we had a hand go up and it's gone down again. So, two more. So Councillor Gibbons is next.
Councillor Gibbons, please.
Yeah, just to support what Michael Payne said, there is money there for such eventualities around playground equipment. But what I particularly take issues with, it seems to be a theme from the opposition parties about community funds. I know in mine and Rachel Ellis's how we make use of our community fund. We could use that community fund twice over. So if anybody wants, from the opposition party, wants any advice or any sort of like showing how to use their funds within the community, we will help them out. So far in using our community fund, we've set up 2 welfare kitchens. We've been instrumental in their startups on that. Welfare kitchen in Bestwood Village is now serving free meals on a Saturday to up to 50 people. We've nearly reached 4,000 meals at the community kitchen up at Emmanuel Church. We support the local play groups. We also support the local Warren Action groups, the Star groups, the Benedict Court groups. So all the money from our community pots goes directly to the community, and sometimes it comes across as I'm sure the members of the opposition don't mean to do this, but it does come across that sometimes they're a bit dismissive of this particular facility we have for the Gedling residents.
It's got to do with the budget.
Thank you.
It's not on the amendment.
It's not on the amendment. No, thank you.
Okay, sorry.
Yes, it was on. Yes, it was on the amendment. He was referencing the denuding of the councillors' parks, which is in the amendment.
Absolutely.
It was absolutely on the amendment, Madam Mayor.
Okay, sorry.
Agree.
Right, thank you.
Sorry, Michael.
Sorry, Councillor Gibbons, then.
Boyd, it's all right, Boyd. Thank you.
Who else?
Well, that's all, Madam Mayor. That's all I wish to say on that. So I will be voting against the amendment.
Councillor Barnes would like to say something. Peter Barnes.
I think we had Councillor Adams first, Madam Mayor.
Okay, Councillor Adams then.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, just a quick. I mean, I can see what Councillor Earl was trying to do and the group, because there are concerns about the exhaust emissions of equipment that we're using in the borough, and obviously moves to more carbon neutral fuel types has got to be in our sites as a council. There's no two ways about that. There's still a bit of work to do with those things. I mean, personally, I think there's like they said, the capacity for refueling is problematic sometimes. But I think that's definitely got to be something we investigate and look into as we go forward. I have reservations about reducing the carbon reduction budget, in all honesty, because again, I think that's something we've all got to be focused on achieving. It's a national policy target, and it has to be a local policy target as well. It has to be a country target and a target for all of us to attempt to lower our impact on the planet. So yeah, I'll be and our group will be voting against the amendment, I'm afraid. But I did the content of it, like I said, I do understand where they're coming from. It does make sense to me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Adams. Anybody else?
Madam Mayor, there's nobody with their hand up at the moment, so you can go to Councillor Barnes.
Would like to say something.
Yeah, I'd like to agree with Councillor Payne. We've done quite a lot of work on our leisure parks and recreation grounds for the children, and I think we've done extremely well. And we're looking at the rest of the parks in the borough, and where there is parks and kiddie players wants refurbishing. We take that into consideration. Something you can't do overnight. Some things you have to go through the process of making sure you get the right equipment to the right place. So we are looking at that, and we do look at that. And secondly, on the fact that we're talking about, we used to have electric car in this borough, a van down at the depot. And because we've got so many hills in this borough, it's very difficult to use electric vehicles for that sort of purpose. So we're looking at the next electric vehicles that's come on the street. At the moment, there's not one capable, what we think at this point in time, which would suit our purpose in the borough. But we are open minds about this, but we're looking at it very seriously to see if we can go down that line. But at the moment, we don't think there's one available, but it's not something we're not looking at. We're looking at it carefully, and if there's one available, we will seriously consider it. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. Anybody else wishing to speak on the amendment, please?
We've got Councillor Martin Smith.
Councillor Martin Smith, please.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. I very much welcome the comments from Councillor Peter Barnes about funding play parks across the borough. Of course, in Ravenshead, we have no funding from Gedling Borough Council on 3 play parks, and look forward to working with them in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else, please?
Councillor Hope.
Councillor Hope.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's very briefly, really. I can see what the Liberals are trying to do with this, but it's my understanding that the members' pot is money that's meant to be spent on initiatives that support local groups, local charities, local initiatives. And significantly, I've got to point out that if I was to chuck £500 into a fund that provides new play equipment, I can guarantee that not one penny of that would come to Calverton, because Gedling Borough doesn't have any play parks in Calverton. We have got one that's been very badly vandalised, and we're in discussions as to how we're going to repair it. But effectively, even if you had the money, you wouldn't be, as Gedling Borough Council, turning around to us and saying, yeah, we can repair that, because you wouldn't. So I mean, I think that is one good reason why I am personally going to oppose this amendment. On the carbon reduction issue, my view is that as long as we're moving towards progressive reduction of carbon in the borough, then that's a good thing. I'm not convinced, although I can see the thinking, I'm not convinced that an electric lawnmower would make a massive difference to the carbon output of Gedling Borough. But it does seem rather a lot of money. I am, however, very keen on seeing the increase in the number of pollinators, because that affects everybody, and it's something that we really do have to be aware of. So I'll be opposing this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Hope. Is there anyone else, Alec?
Yeah, Councillor Boyle, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Boyle, then. Thank you.
Yeah, two points, Madam Mayor, thank you. One was to reiterate Des Gibbons, Councillor Gibbons's point on the members' pot and what that is used for. And we did have an attack on the members' pot last year, which I think he was right to criticise. But my main point was to actually defend the council's proposals for a green lung and what difference that might make to our green environment and to carbon reduction. One, it increases well-being because more people will actually use the contiguous space between the end of my road, effectively and Digby, and right the way through to Gedling Country Park, and that will be a massive benefit to lots of people. So in terms of the overall council's health and well-being bit, I think it's going to be very helpful. But the other thing, of course, it does is to increase a contiguous green space right into the heart of the urban part of Gedling. And that means that people will be able to cycle or walk a lot further into it and still feel safe doing so. And that's got to have benefits in reducing motor car use in terms of particularly leisure activities, because it's then on our doorstep. So I think it is short-sighted to seek to propose an amendment that would reduce or move away from those kind of proposals. So for those two reasons I put tonight, I am voting against this amendment.
Thank you very much, Councillor Boyle. Is there anyone else, Alec?
Nobody else at the moment, but just conscious that the hands haven't been very reliable. So if there is anyone and they want to take themselves off mute and speak, then I would advise doing it now. But it doesn't look like there is, Madam Mayor.
Okay, Councillor Elwood, then would you like to come back on your amendment, please?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, I've tried to make a few notes as I've gone along with some of the comments. Yeah, the bee and pollinator thing, I agree it's important, but to my mind, it's in the wrong tin. It's not carbon reduction. It's not carbon reduction. I mean, unless somebody can show me that it reduces carbon, it ain't. You know, I mean, I suppose there may be a marginal impact because you're cutting the grass a bit less often. I suppose, I don't know, but I accept it's important, but it's not carbon reduction. It's not what it's in the wrong budget, really. I haven't decried what the council has done with carbon reduction. It's acknowledged that carbon has reduced, and I haven't had a go at the administration for what you have done. So I don't know where that came from. The council pot monies, yeah, I agree that they are important, and we always use our council pot monies to the full each year, and we always support community groups or do other things with our monies, and we acknowledge it's very useful monies. Having said that, I would say that the funding has sort of changed over the years. I mean, when I first came onto the council, I think it was 1,000, then it dropped to 500, and then it went up to 1,000. And the funding that we're proposing is still going to be higher than it was in the financial year 2018-19, when I think it was 1,000 per member. So we're still providing members a good sum of money in that regard. So maybe some of the members who've been here a little bit longer will recall that the sums haven't been set in stone. It's not been like a something that's been forever at that level. And I do acknowledge Councillor Hope's issue about the fact that play areas aren't funded in certain parts of the borough, and I do wonder, without wanting to go into another area of discussion, whether we do need to review that in the long run, specifically now that we don't provide any funding for the parish councils. So I can see that, yeah, there's not much for members who don't get the play areas in their patch. The issue with the play area, I've been reassured that there's plenty of money available for repairs. Well, there were problems in our ward, and despite the best efforts of our excellent officers, the problem couldn't seem to be fixed. So there's something going wrong somewhere. So this is just a very small means of trying to address that problem. And as I think it was Councillor Barnes mentioned, we are providing more play areas in various areas in the borough now. So we're going to need to increase the maintenance budget going forward. So I think that's probably as much as I can say. The tendency seems to be that we're putting the onus on carbon reduction onto our residents with various schemes. To my mind, we should set the example by reducing our own carbon reduction first. Anyway, that's as much as I can say, and thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Councillor Elwood. Councillor Clark, would you like to close on the amendment, please?
Yeah, thanks, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Elwood, for the amendment, but I'm not going to agree with it. I think you sort of were stumbling a little bit there with it and trying to find something to put out. I would be interested on a personal interest in this is if you've got an audit trail of why it took 14 months out of action for a piece of equipment. Not that I'm going to go witch hunting for somebody because you've not done this, that, or the other. Be interesting so we can find out where the logjam was, and so we can actually work on it and say, let's get a better service here. Did it get lost on somebody's desk or whatever? Let's try and correct that, and let's try and get the service better so that those things would be repaired. A bit baffled by when we're working with you for the retention of the Gedling school site, or certainly most of it. Then a little bit nervous about Digby Park. And Digby Park, I know from many years ago, from my children, from sledging on there to now they're grown up and got their own children that go sledging on there, because that is an area that I think we haven't neglected. That's all sorts of people who've run this council. It's tucked away there. It's generally used for dog walking, and it sits around the golf course. Now the idea is that we actually link it so that it's got a physical link with the country park. And it will be a safe crossing so that families can go, people who are disabled, etc., can start to use that. I know they're not going to use the steep bits of it if you've got a wheelchair or something, but you could create something along the top, back at Digby Avenue, along there where it goes around a little plantation that's on the corner there, then goes up towards the school. So there's a lot of scope to do things there, and I think we should start to put this. This is not for us now. This is for future generations, and I think we ought to look in other areas. And I'm looking at Mike on the screen now down in Burton Joyce. I think the recreation area down there. Is there any land around there that we can either lease or get? So we've got to start protecting some of this, because we have given, all of us have given permission massively under guidance from government for these massive developments that are springing up all over the place of thousands of houses. So I think we need to start looking and have a tapestry of green lungs across the borough so that people can say, yeah, please protect this. Please protect that. Make sure there's not enough building. And I can remember probably Ravenshead now is doubled in the size because there was the back, what do they call it, back building and all the things like that they built in people's gardens, etc. And it starts to get really cramped. Difficult subject to deal with, but I think the more we put in, the more we look at it, and we collectively, if we can get together, we'll have a lot healthier residents, and again cut down on travelling, because you can't all fail to notice the amount of people that are walking, the amount of people that are running. I don't know if you've done one of these things. I'm too old for it now, but I used to run a lot. And the 5 minutes running, 10 minutes walking, this, that, and the other. You go through one scale, get you, then you think that kills you. It's a bit like us leafleting. Then all of a sudden you get a bit better, a bit stronger by the time by the time of election campaign, you get to the end of it, and you're fitter than a butcher's dog sometimes after doing it. But anyway, that's just a little idea on it. The scheme with the electric vans, I think Peter's, he's actually highlighted that we did have an electric van. I don't know, in fact, I'm not sure whether it's stuck down there in the yard, but technology moves on. It does move on. There's no doubt in that. And once we get to that position, and once we get to it, because you've got to remember on each vehicle, each waste vehicle, now it's a very delicate time at the moment, because with all these new houses and everything else, and some of the vehicles getting older, we are going to have to purchase some new waste vehicles. For an electric dustbin cart, if you like, put it bluntly, to get one of those, it's £500,000. Unless we get some subsidies, unless we get some backup. But where they've used them on the topography that we've got in Gedling, they have failed. They've failed halfway through the rounds, and you can soon imagine the reaction from people. But it's not off the radar, and I think any ideas from any groups, any member that we need to put forward or to see something on it. I'm very keen on looking at the hydrogen one, but at the moment, where do you buy your hydrogen from? You can eventually get, if you get your yard done to it, you may get it, but there are very few areas yet, although lots of car places are doing things like that. I think, and another indication of green lungs is the amount of people. There is a large queue now, a very large queue on most allotment sites. People wanting to do things. They're getting out there. And if you go around, I might advertise here, Wilco, somebody like that. Years ago, you'd see the seeds stuck on the shelves, the seed potatoes, the onions, this, that, and the other. Wow, this year they have gone. There's no doubt in that. In the seed shops and places, people are trying and getting more involved with growing things themselves. So I think we're on the march with it. And you know, it's. And I know there's a lot of government money gone into it. There's a lot of grants from all sorts of places. But I'm not going to support this this amendment. I think you've just been, you know, trying to find something to put on there. But would be interested, right back to what I started with the why it took 14 months for an out of action piece of equipment. There are problems similar to those ones. The bigger pieces of equipment have been vandalised, set fire to, or whatever, where we can't insure for those, and that's unfortunate because nobody will insure because they're so vulnerable. But with that, Madam Mayor, I will shut up. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Clark. So we'll now take a vote on the amendment, and don't forget this is a named vote again. So I'll pass to Caroline for the vote, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We will, councillors, when your name is called, please state whether you are for, against or abstained, and a reminder to take yourselves off mute at this time. And this is a vote as to whether or not you accept the Liberal Democrats amendment only at this stage. Thank you. Councillor Adams.
Against.
Councillor Peter Barnes.
Against.
Madam Mayor.
Against.
Councillor Barnfather.
Against.
Councillor Bosworth.
Against.
Councillor Boyle.
Against.
Councillor Brooks.
Against.
Councillor Clark.
Against.
Councillor Clooney.
Against.
Councillor Collis.
Against.
Councillor Creamer.
Against.
Councillor Elliott.
Against.
Councillor David Ellis.
Against.
Councillor Rachel Ellis.
Against.
Councillor Elwood.
For.
Councillor Feeney.
Against.
Councillor Fox.
Against.
Councillor Gibbons.
Against.
Councillor Greensmith.
Against.
Councillor Gregory.
Against.
Councillor Hemingway.
Against.
Councillor Hollingsworth.
Against.
Councillor Hope.
Against.
Councillor Keneally.
Against.
Councillor Ron McCrossan.
Against.
Councillor Viv McCrossan.
Against.
Councillor Miller.
Against.
Councillor Murray.
Against.
Councillor Nayuk.
Against.
Councillor Paling.
Against.
Councillor Parr.
Against.
Councillor Payne.
Against.
Councillor Scroggy.
Against.
Councillor Martin Smith.
Against.
Councillor Sam Smith.
Against.
Councillor Towsy Hinton.
For.
Councillor Truscott.
Against.
Councillor Wheeler.
Against.
And Councillor Wilkinson.
Against.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The amendment is lost.
Thank you very much, Caroline. So now we're going back to the original motion proposed by Councillor Clark. And I remember, Councillor Boyd Elliott, you wanted to say something before, didn't you? Councillor Boyd?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay.
Can you remember what I wanted to say?
Not sure it matters, Boyd.
Well,
You were being very kind, Boyd. A bit more of that.
Your country needs lurks. I'd like to. Well, I want to start by thanking John for his speech at the beginning of the evening. I thought it was it covered all political groups. Gedling does cover a whole host of political groups. It takes in Arnold, it takes in our villages, and just wanted to congratulate him for the work he's done with, in particular, Chris Pearson, and the work that he's done with Arnold, because Arnold, it benefits all those villages around, and I represent Calverton, and a lot of my residents. We all go. I go to Asda twice a day. I've been shopping in Asda twice a day for residents in my village that can't make it out. They're isolating. So I just think that Arnold, you made it such a great place to go. Thank you. It seems such a long time. I want to go on to the temporary accommodation. That was my thing that I wanted to talk to you about, and it was the funding in place. The government had given you funding, £220,000, and I just wanted to know to pick up on those points. When did temporary funding? If someone was in temporary accommodation, when did that become permanent? If we've got people in our borough needing help and they're coming to the council and you place them and you paid for them and you paid for that placement for 5 months, when does it become permanent? So I'd like to ask the portfolio holder there, when does that become permanent? I think 5 months is an awful long time. I mean, I deal with residential lettings and what have you, and 5 months seems a long time. Okay, can I ask that question?
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Elliott. Councillor Jenny Hollingsworth.
Sorry, Madam Mayor, we had Councillor Clooney before that.
Oh, beg your pardon. Okay, Councillor Clooney, because I can't see. Okay, Councillor.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just very briefly, going way back to the beginning when we were talking about the great things that have happened in the borough, under restrictions as such, and particularly talking about the Richard Herod Centre and how great it's been of the food hub and then the vaccination centre. And I want to pay particular tribute to the council staff who are working so hard at the vaccination centre. I myself have been volunteering, not giving injections. I've been, shepherding people around, and it's been an absolute pleasure to work with the great people there, including several council employees. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Clooney. Ali, is there anyone else? I can see Councillor Hollingsworth.
Councillor Hollingsworth, yeah.
Yeah, Councillor Hollingsworth, please.
Yes, thank you very much, Madam Mayor. I'm a bit unclear what Councillor Boyd is getting at about when does temporary accommodation become permanent, because if it's temporary accommodation, that's exactly what it is. On the 11th of February, Cabinet received a report on temporary accommodation, and with that report there was a 40-page options appraisal. I don't know whether Councillor Elliott's actually read that, but if he has, he will see that the accommodation we've got, Gedling Borough has six temporary accommodation at the moment. All of those require some investment in the short term and the medium term. Yep. Bed and breakfast is not suitable for many of the people who come on or are accepted as homeless because they have families, and it is not suitable for them not to be able to cook food, to have shared facilities with other people. So that appraisal looked very much at how we actually address that, and that is the money that's been put in. Now you will see from the report that the cost of accommodation rose in 2013-14 from 12,400 to an estimated 278,600 by the end of this financial year. So it was clear we had to do something, and that's why the report was brought forward, and that's why it is mentioned in the budget report in terms of investing in new property which are more suitable for people. There is, of course, an issue of moving people on because council houses have been sold off and replacements have not been provided. There's an estimated 1 or 2 properties become available a month, and when you've got 118 people in temporary accommodation, you will see that there is a mismatch between what is available and the number of people requiring temporary accommodation. But in terms of becoming permanent, clearly it's not permanent until they're moved on into accommodation that they will stay in. temporary accommodation is exactly what it says it is. It's temporary accommodation. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Hollingsworth. Alec, is there anyone else?
Nobody else at the moment, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Payne,
Oh,
please.
sorry, Madam Mayor. Councillor
Councillor
Sam
Smith,
Smith.
I can see, yeah. Sorry.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First, just to address Councillor Hollingsworth's response there. You know, the leader mentioned tonight about funding and central government funding. Well, temporary accommodation it is a chance that they've missed 10 years this administration's been in, and only now are they looking to invest, which we welcome, by the way, over £1 million to try and reduce the B&B spending. When on Councillor Hollings's watch, we've been spending over £200,000 a year on B&B. That's been over 19 weeks, which just is unbelievable. But we welcome it now. Better late than never. Let's try and reduce that and save some money whilst looking after those that need it. Moving on to the budget that we see, Madam Mayor, the leader started tonight with remarks about the awful year so many of Gedling's families have faced due to COVID, and of course our condolences are with them. We also honour the key workers and NHS heroes who have worked so hard and done a tremendous job throughout the pandemic, and we therefore welcome the Honour Our Heroes memorial that is proposed in this budget. The Conservative group also supports the vast majority of other projects that are outlined in this budget, but we cannot get away from the fact that this budget is an ignore the rurals area budget, so we will not be supporting it. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Sam Smith. Councillor Michael Payne, please.
Sorry, Madam Mayor. I don't know if Councillor Payne wants to come in now, but there are other speakers.
Right, well, we can't see.
Who first, Alec?
Who's first?
So we had Councillor Wheeler with his hand next.
Sorry, okay, Councillor Wheeler, sorry.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to come in on the issue of temporary accommodation. Jenny, Councillor Hollingsworth is absolutely right, but I'd go back to the Conservatives and say, actually, who created austerity? Who's been in power for the last decade? Who's presided over the housing crisis? Well, the Tories have presided over the housing crisis. We have a terrible problem in this borough. We have a housing crisis in this borough. We are totally reliant on resident social landlords for accommodation. There are not enough social houses being provided in this borough, nor indeed across the country. We don't have any council houses in this borough. We have a very limited supply of housing that is available, and our housing needs department actually have done an absolutely stunning job over this last 12 months during this COVID pandemic. We've done everything possible to ensure that there are no rough sleepers on our streets. We've done everything possible to ensure people that are in real dire straits have got accommodation and are got accommodation. That means that they've got somewhere to sleep, somewhere to live, somewhere to cook food and so forth. I'm not having Councillor Sam Smith attacking this administration and housing. He needs to look at his own backyard. Simple as. Look at your own government. Look at where this crisis started in housing. Look at that. Besides the point, the houses are being built. By far, there's not enough social houses being built. There's not enough anywhere being built in terms of housing that's going to solve the housing crisis nationally. We need more council houses. We need more social houses. It's okay building houses, but the houses that are being built aren't necessarily the right kind of houses that are being built to solve the problem. So I'm not having any of this from the opposition on housing at all, because they've created the problem with the housing crisis we have. Not only have they created the problem, they've also exacerbated with the cuts, the massive cuts they've made to those services that a lot of people rely on, a lot of very vulnerable people rely on. So I'm having none of that. Sorry, thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Wheeler. Alec, is there anybody else?
Yeah, we've got Councillor Boyle.
Councillor Boyle, please, then.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. A couple of points here. First of all, I want to echo Councillor Wheeler's point on council housing and the need at the moment for temporary accommodation and how you get round it. It was Mrs. Thatcher back in the day who pulled off a massive financial con on the whole of the British people by saying, go and own your own council house, we'll sell them off. But of course they sold them off and people people, I don't blame people for buying them. But the point is, we never then replaced them. We didn't build any more council houses. So then there wasn't the council stock to then move people into. And then lots of authorities have ended up having to sell off or to other organisations the entire council housing stock. So we are in a council in a very difficult position in terms of provision. So for Councillor Sam Smith to then attack the Labour administration for a problem his own party has caused over 30, 40 years, I think is a little bit rich, and I think he ought to apologise for those remarks. Coming to the budget itself, let's actually consider where we've come from and where we are. Last year, we sat in the council chamber and we debated the budget. And we debated the budget then when the when Rishi Sunak produced absolutely nothing for Gedling Borough Council, and we were the worst affected council. This year, it's the same. Last year, Boris Johnson was shaking hands with everybody, not attending Cobra meetings and acting the buffoon, but producing absolutely nothing and working far too late for this crisis. Gedling Borough have not shirked their responsibilities. They've put money in where it's needed. Projected this year to having to use nearly £500,000 out of reserves because of the shortfall in both revenue and in terms of extra spending caused by the COVID crisis. We take our responsibilities seriously. And on the detail, Madam Mayor, I want to turn my attention to page 71 of the pack, where you will see the revenue support grant for 2015-16, and you'll see the figures going down as you get further down the road. So in 2018-19, there was still a little bit there. By the time you got to 2019-20, there is nothing from a revenue support grant at all. Now, this is a massive loss in the spending power of Gedling Borough Council. Something's got to give. So instead of attacking the budget and attacking the Labour administration for some of the decisions it's had to make in terms of this budget, what the opposition party ought to be doing is looking at the record in government and lobbying the Communities and Local Government Minister and Rishi Sunak to come back with a funding formula that actually helps our residents in Gedling and means that we can provide more and better services. I would actually say that in the time that I've lived in Gedling, which is some time, and the coming of the administration in 2011, all the pledges, despite the funding cuts, despite 65 pence in the pound reduction, they have met all their pledges. They've increased the provision in this borough. They've increased the facilities, and they've done everything that they said we'd do. So I think every single member of this council ought to recognise that fact, and I think every single member of this council ought to vote for the budget tonight.
Thank you very much, Councillor Boyle. Alec, is there anyone else wanting?
Yeah, we've got Councillor Wilkinson.
Councillor Wilkinson, please, then.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, I want to commend this this budget to the council. It's a budget of an administration which, under very straitened circumstances, has performed remarkably over the last few years. And I want to remind this chamber that we are the worst affected council in the country. The worst affected council in the country. And do we see our MP speaking up for us? No, we don't. He's worse than, you know, he's as much use as a chocolate teacup, and he's doing what his neighbour in Sherwood is telling him to do, but he's certainly not speaking up for Gedling. It's an absolute shocker. We've seen yesterday, you know, various towns, mostly with Conservative MPs, receiving extra funds. 40 out of 45 just happen to have Conservative MPs. You know, I mean, it's naked. It's naked opportunism. It's naked cronyism. It's naked. Well, you could arguably call it corruption. Yet again, Gedling has been neglected. Yet again, Newark is receiving funds of from this government. It's no wonder you want to be a county councillor up there, Sam. Is it because of the extra funding? Yet again, Gedling is being ignored. But this administration will continue to serve the people of Gedling and perform miracles on the resources that it has. So I commend this budget to the council. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Wilkinson. Alec, is there anyone else?
Yeah, Councillor Creamer.
Councillor Creamer, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, I'd just like to commend this budget to the whole council. All members should vote for it. I actually object totally to the issue that this is only an urban budget and it's ignoring the rural areas. It's this council, through very difficult times, who has actually protected the wardens. They're actually protecting services, and services apply to everywhere. They're actually as well helped the police by putting police, extra police on in our areas, areas within Gedling. And at the same time, to make the actual point that we've got an extra 20,000 police officers in the country, that's fine, but they're not extra. They're a replacement for a loss of nearly 23,000. So we're still not back to where we were 7 or 8 years ago. So yes, this council and its administration has done extremely well. It's protected all our services, and I totally object that it is not a rural budget. It's protecting all our residents. When it comes back to the amendment you moved on flooding, the emergency pot there, the 50, is for the whole of Gedling, and it's for wherever needs it the most. If Calverton needs it the most, it will get it. If Colic needs it the most, it will get it. This budget is protecting Gedling. It's for Gedling. So by all means, carry your paranoias with you, but vote for this budget. It's for Gedling. It's not for urban Gedling. It's not for rural Gedling. It's for Gedling. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor Creamer. Alec, anyone else?
Nobody else at the moment, Madam. Oh, Councillor Payne, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Payne. Right, Councillor Payne, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. And I just want to begin my final comments on the very commendable budget put by the Leader of the Council tonight, directed to the residents, the hard-working residents in Gedling Borough. And I just want to pose a few questions to the residents who pay for the services that we've maintained over the last 10 years. Central government, as Councillor Wilkinson said, that's the Conservative Party over the last 10 years, in case you didn't realise, Councillor Sam Smith, have denuded Gedling of funding. They've left us in a position where we're the worst affected council in the country, not just for 1 year running, but for 2 years running. And the deafening silence by the Member of Parliament for Gedling constituency has been nothing short of a disgrace. So the first question I want to ask the residents of Gedling Borough is, if you were asked to continue to run your household budget, having had 65p ripped out of every pound of your hand, and you still had to meet the bills, could you do it? Because that's what this Conservative Party in Downing Street has been asking Gedling residents to do for the last 10 years. £5.8 million stripped out of the budget since 2010. 65p in every pound taken out of our hands. So when you come here, Councillor Smith, giving your lectures about ignoring the rurals, don't talk to me about ignoring people. Your party's a past master at ignoring the residents of Gedling. It's been doing it for the last decade. And Councillor Wilkinson was also right to point out about the Towns Fund, an electoral bung for marginal Conservative constituencies around the country. And it's a crying shame that our MP clearly hasn't got any clout with the Treasury or the Prime Minister, because we weren't at the front of the queue when it was those £25 billion bungs being given out. No doubt you'll be supporting the £25 billion bung that's been given out in Newark constituency, Councillor Smith, when you're touting round for votes in Newark West in the May election next week. The only person ignoring anybody in this room tonight is you running away from your residents in Burton, Joyce and Trent Valley to stand in Newark West. It's no good sitting there and shaking your head, Councillor Smith. If you're going to throw around comments like you did earlier, then you can take them. If you don't like the heat, get out of the kitchen. And let me also just pose this question to the residents of Gedling Borough. Worst affected council in the country, 20.2% reduction in our core spending power. To put that another way, that's the money available to the council to spend on vital public services. And at the same time, Stratford-upon-Avon, a similar sized district council in the Midlands, run by the Conservative Party, with a Minister for Vaccinations as its MP, has seen an increase of 27.5% in the amount of money available for its public services. A huge 47.7% difference in the way that Gedling and its residents have been treated. Ask yourself this a question if you're a taxpayer in Gedling. Is that fair? Why are the people of Stratford-on-Avon and other Conservative councils being treated in a different way to our hard-working residents? Because I certainly don't think it's fair. And ask yourself this as well. Why are the 18 councils out of the top 20 have seen an uplift of more than 20% in the money available to them to maintain their public services, Conservative run? That's not governing in the national interest. It's governing narrow party political interest. And when you sit here tonight, Councillor Smith, and lecture Councillor Hollingsworth about homelessness, just you reflect on the 250% increase in unsheltered homelessness over the last decade on your Conservative government. Just you reflect on what you left this Labour administration in 2011. Dilapidated flats in Woollerton Avenue that you left people living in squalor in temporary accommodation. How dare you come to this meeting tonight and lecture Councillor Hollingsworth about looking after those people who are homeless? This council, in the face of cuts from your Conservative government, is doing something compassionately about trying to get those people off the streets, trying to rebuild council housing, trying to support those individuals with the charities who have stood alongside, while your government has rubbed its hands of them. How dare you come and lecture the people who have been working in Gedling Borough Council to support those homeless people? I think you've got a cheek, young man. And when you say tonight that you're not going to support this budget because it's ignoring the rurals, have you had your bins in Burton Joyce collected in the last year in the middle of a global pandemic? Will you be benefiting from the extra tree management officer that's in tonight's budget? Will you be benefiting from the £50,000 that's being allocated for flood alleviation? Will you be benefiting from the carbon reduction that we're investing in terms of £100,000 to reduce carbon and tackle the climate change in the community that you represent in Stoke? You praised our staff earlier for the response they've given around fly tipping, and when the water unfortunately burst its banks alongside the River Trent, and you have the cheek to sit here and say that this council's been doing nothing for the rural communities. The motto that sits above our badge, Councillor Smith, is best for all. And I don't know why you think what you think, but the staff in this council have been doing their best for all, for every single resident, every single family, and every single business in this borough in very, very, very difficult circumstances indeed. Carlton Square being invested in, Arnold Town Centre being invested in. Councillor Boyd Elliott, who actually has a bit of experience of being a councillor, had the maturity and dignity to praise the council, not the Labour administration, but Gedling Borough Council for its amazing work it's done in the town centre. Find it within yourself, Councillor Smith, to praise the staff. And I heard you say, it's absolutely amazing what our staff have been doing. They're all COVID heroes. Why haven't I heard you speak out against Chancellor Rishi Sunak's pay freeze on those heroes then? You were quite willing to stand and clap those COVID heroes last year, but now when it comes to paying them a decent wage, you've turned your back on them, as has the Chancellor and as has the Prime Minister. This Labour administration won't turn its back on them, which is why we've budgeted for a 2% pay increase should that come out of the pay negotiations when that debate takes place. This budget tonight is an investment in all areas, all communities. It's a budget that hopefully will take us to brighter and better days. The last year's been tough for everybody. Whoever you voted for in the last general election, the government have faced challenges, the Prime Minister's faced challenges, the councils faced challenges, the county council has faced challenges, councils cross-party have faced challenges. Now's the time to put your party political attacks to one side, Councillor Sam Smith, to stop being the little sidekick for Tom Randall, who hasn't spoken up for us in this constituency since he's been elected, and to have the decency to recognise it in yourself that this budget is about taking the residents and the businesses to brighter and better days, and that hopefully the dark clouds on this pandemic will lift and that we will be able to reset and recover. So I commend the Leader of the Council tonight. I commend the Chief Executive. I commend our entire staff. And yes, I commend councillors cross-party in this chamber tonight who have found it within themselves to put differences aside, to make suggestions, to try and work with us. You do well taking a lesson from them, Councillor Smith, and you might then just be able to make a more valuable contribution in this debate. This is an excellent budget. The leader set an excellent tone when he set out his speech tonight, and this is something that we should all get behind as we now move to the vote, so that we can come together, we can offer a bit of positivity, we can offer a bit of hope, and we can offer a bit of cheer after what has been one of the most difficult periods this country has faced since the Second World War. I commend this budget, and I commend the Leader of the Council for putting such a decent budget forward to us all tonight.
Thank you very much, Councillor Payne. Can I now ask Councillor Clark to close on the original motion?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Thanks, Michael, for the passionate way you put that over. And I think majority of the people on board tonight will be agreeing there. It is frustrating. It's very frustrating that times, everything else. I'm not going to go through a lot of the things that's been said, but I do reject the bit about the rural-urban bit. I mean, whenever we've tried with rural areas, and Burton Joyce in particular, the play park came together when I was county councillor down there with the parish council, our council, the county council, all sorts of people. You've got a first-class play park there, which hopefully soon will be protected by a CCTV if you're having continual problems. The recreation ground at further down going towards the river, that was there was money in there when we took over many years ago, and there was money in for it. And as soon everybody started the chatterboxes going, probably had about a dozen Sam, saying, well, they're not going to do this, they're not going to do that. We honoured the money that went towards that, which is set up and got a good recreation ground there. The masts, and I know you've still got one wind turbine there, but there were two turbines and they were right close to people's houses. Again, we campaigned together and we campaigned to keep those, and you've only got the one at one end, which is far better than what Severn Trent wanted, which was right in the middle of the village. So we don't forget the rural people. We're always looking out for things to do. Other places have got similar to their strong parish councils, and hopefully we've got a good liaison with them. Just backing up, I mean, everybody said this about the 65p in the pound. That's a fact. It's a fact. The 65p in a pound is a fact. You can't get away with it. It is there, but obviously people don't want to look at it. And it was very frustrating to read today, and I think it's probably at the Telegraph or somewhere like that today. I got Rishi Sunak's 4.2 billion. Very good, very good. Was it how many? I can't remember how many councils, but there were only about 5 Labour councils there. This is even frustrating now, frustrating the DCN, District Councils Network. It's just frustrating the LGA and saying this is just not fair. There is something wrong. We're not even getting the dregs now. They're saving those up and giving them over to Newark, which you'll probably enjoy when you're over there. But Richmond, to give some to Richmond, which is one of the richest constituencies in the land, compare that with inner city Nottingham, inner city Derby, inner city Leicester, and places like that. These are massive sums that are being handed over to these people, and it's very, very disappointing. It's also the homelessness. You're going about homelessness, but the fact is that with public homes, with council housing, etc., and I'm not on Gedling Homes now, but on Gedling Homes and subsequently Jigsaw Homes, for every house that is sold, and there's still a right to buy on those, you have to build 2.5 in most cases to build those. It's just not fair. And after 2 or 3 years, these people can then buy them, and away it goes. And there's massive discounts given there. And it's all been what we've been done is against the back of 10 years of austerity. All of a sudden, there was no money. We're all awful. We had David Cameron and all sorts of people saying, there's no money, you've got to pull your belt in. Everybody pulls the belt in. And then all of a sudden, money comes out of the, well, God knows, it's Mrs. May's money tree, wasn't it, originally? But that's been poured at us. So, the things that we have tried to do here, we've tried to involve everybody, and that's what's in the speech tonight. Try to involve everybody. And it's often said, the door is always open. It is open, and we if there's something, a mega problem there, like Andrew's got with this, 14 months out of action, a play part. Why? Let's have a look at it. Let's sit around a table and let's work it out how we can resolve this for our residents And it's the thing when you walk out your front door, it's something. Now, what's bothering me when I walk outside my front door, and that's what I say to our councillors, if you see something there, you get onto the officers. They're not going to be able to do everything, but let's find a reason or give a reason why we can't do it. And if it needs to be put into future budgets, it needs to be put into the future budgets. And it might not be this year, might not be next year, but it could be the year afterwards. So let's work on that. The Richard Herod Centre has been mentioned, and it's very frustrating with that. We could jump around over the Richard Herod Centre. Richard Herod Centre, as we did, and Gedling Borough were the main pushers of this, not the County Council, the Gedling Borough. Richard Herod Centre was ready when we were told it was to be ready on the 6th of December. We subsequently didn't receive vaccine until the 6th of January, and that was on the orders of on high. It was on the orders of ministers that stopped that being rolled out then, as we would have been in that first rollout there. And at the moment, for those people who are watching it very closely, there is a shortage. I don't know what the shortage is of vaccine at the moment. We don't need to panic. We don't need to make political points about it. We just need to ask people, just be a little bit patient. That will be back on stream, and as will the others, because what's happened collectively, the government, the councils, LGA, DCN, everybody like that has done an absolute sterling job in this country. It's gone back to those, Second World War, First World War, dig your grass up and plant a potato and that type of thing. It's that type of spirit there that is going to beat this virus, and we need to do that. And we'll only do it if we work together. So think about it. Hope you support this. I'm just looking down here. There's all sorts of things written down here. Where were we? Jim was on about the police stations. Well, yeah, we kicked off about the police stations. But what did we do at Gedling Borough? We accommodated the police officers. Those 5 down there were out of those 5 response cars came directly out of meetings that Michael, myself, and John Robinson had with the chief constable. They came out there. They have made a massive difference to fighting crime in this borough, and that's been backed up by the police commissioner as well with the funding from there. So we have done really, really well. I wish you well when you go to Newark. I look forward to combating in the County Council chamber. You'll find it's a whole different world in there, and we look forward to welcoming you down there if you manage to get through
Absolutely.
One of the things I would do if I was you down in Burton, Joyce, and along that strip, we have had some awful, and I mean awful, deaths in that river. We need to be campaigning down there to get that well barriered, like an M1 barrier down that side, because it is so easy for those unfortunate 2 and other people that have gone into that river and lost their lives. That's the local issues you need to concentrate on, not attacking this Labour Authority. I move the budget.
Well done. Thank you very much, Councillor Clark. Now, before I move to the vote, I just want to say sorry it's been a long time tonight, and I want to thank Alec and Caroline for all your help in doing tonight's meeting. So we're moving to the vote now, and don't forget it's a named vote, and I'll pass to Caroline for the vote, please.
Actually, Madam Mayor, it's me because Baby McClear is acting up, so
okay.
Got me. So don't forget we're voting for the budget as proposed by Councillor Clark. So either for, against, or abstain. Councillor Adams.
Abstain.
Councillor Peter Barnes.
Support.
Madam Mayor.
Councillor
Barnfather.
Abstain.
Councillor Bosworth.
For.
Councillor Boyle.
For.
Councillor Brooks.
For.
Councillor Clark.
For.
Councillor Clooney.
For.
Councillor Collis.
For.
Councillor Creamer.
For.
Councillor Elliott.
Abstain.
Councillor David Ellis.
For.
Councillor Rachel Ellis.
For.
Councillor Elwood.
For.
Councillor Feeney.
For.
Councillor Fox.
For.
Councillor Gibbons.
For.
Councillor Greensmith.
Abstain.
Councillor Gregory.
For.
Councillor Hemingway.
For.
Councillor Hollingsworth.
For.
Councillor Hope.
For.
Councillor Keneally.
For.
Councillor Ron McCrossan.
For.
Councillor Viv McCrossan.
For.
Councillor Miller.
For.
Councillor Murray.
Abstain.
Councillor Nyack.
For.
Councillor Paling.
For.
Councillor Parr.
Abstain.
Councillor Payne.
For Alec, and thank you to you and Caroline for your hard work in supporting tonight's meeting. It's been a long day for both of you, and I think you've both done an outstanding job.
Thank you. Councillor Scroggy.
For.
Councillor Martin Smith.
Abstain.
Councillor Sam Smith.
Abstain.
Councillor Towsey Hinton.
For.
Councillor Truscott.
For.
Councillor Wheeler.
For.
Councillor Wilkinson.
For.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. That's carried.
Thank you very much, Alex. I just want to say to everybody, if anyone can remember John Booth, he was a councillor on Edinburgh Council for many years. His wife, Jean, wishes to remember to all the councillors who can remember him and her. She sends good wishes to you all. I want to thank Mike for the use of his office and his help. And I want you all to stay safe, keep well, and I thank you all for attending. Take care, everybody. Good night.
Good night, Madam Mayor.
Night.